And
Yeah, the funny part, Cactus, is when I started, we were in the Ramcota, none of this. You showed up. Period. Everybody was there. Yeah.
Period.
And no, yeah. In Arizona, is he harsh? Yeah.
President Cavello.
Good morning.
Can
If you
anybody
please-
hear
Please
me?
take your seats. We're going to get started. This is the Wyoming Gaming Commission meeting of February 20th, 2026. We will call the
can't
meeting to
hear.
order. Nick, would you give the welcome?
President Cavello, Commissioner Rithaller's having a hard time hearing, so let me go look at something else real quick.
Okay. Ruben, can you hear now? Dennis, can you hear okay?
I can, thank you.
Yes, sir. Chief Francisco, can you hear okay?
Yes.
Dan?
Loud and clear.
I hear you.
Hi, Ruben.
Hello, am I the only one that can't hear? Do I need to click something?
Probably.
You're the only one that can't hear.
So what do I click?
Audio.
Audio.
Turn your volume up too. Turn your volume up.
Is there a teenager in the room?
Can you hear now? Can you hear now?
Now we lost audio.
We cannot hear you.
He's on mute, it looks like.
You need to unmute now, Ruben.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I'm sorry. My granddaughter's in high school and she's in school. So I have my IT person.
Okay, we are off and running.
Thank you.
All right, we've done the welcome. So if you would call the roll, please.
President Cavello.
Here.
Commissioner Torgerson is absent. Commissioner Bowl.
President,
Commissioner Schiffer.
Here.
Commissioner Broussard.
Here.
Vice President Rithaller.
Here.
Commissioner Cura.
Here.
Chief Francisco.
Here.
Commissioner Wildcat appears to be absent. The legislative liaisons, obviously the session is in session, so they are absent. Governor's liaison, Mr. Lebanon. I didn't see him either, Mr. President. You do have a quorum, though.
Very good. Thank you. We appreciate that. Would you administer the welcome, please?
Certainly. Welcome to the February 20th, 2026 special meeting of the Wyoming Gaming Commission. The primary mission of the Wyoming Gaming Commission is the protection of the wagering public and the health, safety, and welfare of the participants in all lawful gaming and parimutuel activity. Individuals who wish to address the commission will be recognized and called on by the president to speak. After the president has recognized you, please clearly state your name and the name of the organization you represent prior to addressing the commission. All comments, questions, and responses must flow through the president by addressing the president each time you wish to speak. This procedure ensures an orderly flow of discussion during the commission meeting. All meetings of the governing body of an agency are public meetings open to the public except as otherwise provided pursuant to Wyoming Statute 16-403A. This meeting is being held in person in Casper, also available on Zoom, and video streaming is available on the Gaming Commission's YouTube channel. The commission may open an executive session pursuant to Wyoming Statute 16-405A. Inclusion on the agenda does not necessarily constitute commission action.
Thank you, Nick. We'll now, if you'd all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Now we'll move on to item number 2. We have the agenda. Any discussions or considerations with regards to the agenda?
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Have a motion? Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Have a second? Is there any discussion? Discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. On to item number 3, approval of the consent list. We have discussion, consideration of the following items. It would be A, item 4, A through B, B, item 5, C, financial and wager activities, and C, item 10, A through H, the historic horse racing requests. Is there any discussion?
I move to adopt the consent list.
Have a motion to adopt the consent list. Do I hear a second?
Commissioner Schiffer seconds.
Have a second. Any discussion? Anyone like to see anything removed or further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. The consent agenda has been approved. So now that takes us right to item 5 and general commission business. Item A, President and Vice President's report. Vice President Red Holler, do you have anything for today?
I do not at this time, President Cavella.
Okay, very good. From myself, I'd just like to thank everyone that braved the roads to be here today. Obviously, not the most perfect conditions, but we'll try to get through things. We do have some rules and stuff like that to discuss. Nick just does have them at the end of the meeting for those of you that need to get out of here and don't want to stay for those, but we do want to give those adequate time. We've spent a lot of time, and I'd like to thank Commissioner Schiffer for all his work with regards to those. I guess that being said, that's all I have. We'll move on to B, the director's report.
Thank you, President Cavello. I will keep it brief as well. I don't have a lot to add. The legislative session is in full swing. If you go to our website under the resources tab, there's the legislative updates. I keep that updated. As soon as there's changes with bill movement, I'll update those. So you can keep those or track those that way pretty easily. We are still working pretty diligently on the central monitoring systems across the board, working with a couple of different developers and vendors to figure out what the best route to go is for central monitoring for skill games and HHR. We'll keep working on that. Outside of that, Mr. President, I don't really have anything else.
Thank you, President Cavello. Online sports wagering, we have a application for a vendor permit for Payment Tech. On December 22nd, we received an application for Payment Tech LLC of Wyoming LLC for a vendor application. Payment Tech is a payment processing vendor. After background investigation by the staff, it appears that Payment Tech meets all statutory requirements for a sports wagering vendor permit. I'll stand for any questions.
Anyone have any questions? So we have a staff recommendation to approve.
Mr. President, they meet all the requirements for a permit.
You have a motion to approve the vendor. Sorry about that. So we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the application. Is there any discussion from the commissioners? Public, again? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Moving right along here. Item 7, Wyoming Downs.
President Cavello, item 7A is a OTB location closure in Cheyenne. This is the Outlaw Saloon location off Greeley Highway. We consider this a voluntary.
Just wanted to say you guys are on mute. We can't hear anything you're saying.
Tim, I'm just getting this worked out for everybody else. Good morning, Tracy Laycock with Wyoming Downs. We actually were approved, I think, for around 60 terminals, and there were approximately 50 operating at the site when it closed.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from the commissioners? Guys online, you have any questions with regards to this?
President Cavella,
Yes. Vice President Red Hollard, floor is yours.
when it is closed, what does happen to the machinery that's in there?
If I may,
Certainly.
Chairman. So what happens is that those terminals now are sitting in a warehouse. We do try to put them in other locations if we can, but a majority of those terminals are sitting in our warehouse currently.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Certainly.
So is that a special permit? If you move them, do you have to notify the commission that those machines are now sitting at another location?
Chairman Cavello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Vice President Rithaler, that's correct. If those terminals go back into service, we then notify the commission prior to them being turned on.
Thank you.
Any other questions with regards to this closure? We'll be looking for an action on this to approve this closure.
I will move to accept the closure.
I have a motion to accept the closure. Do I hear a second?
President Cavella, Vice President Rithaler, I would second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion amongst commissioners? What about the public? Are there any hands raised? Anything out here? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. On to item B, OTB location, terminal increase, Evansville.
President Cavello, item number 7B is a terminal increase request from Wyoming Downs to increase the terminal count at the Evansville property. It was previously approved for 72 terminals. They are preparing to do some renovations to that to expand on the smoking area of that location. They're requesting a terminal addition of 28 terminals to bring that total approval number to 100. In your packet, you will see one of the requests that I made from them when they originally sent this was to update the feasibility study for this to ensure that, this is feasible. If you look through your report beginning on page 52, you'll see my internal report. Natrona County currently has 10 operational OTBs. The total terminal approved count for Natrona County is 874 terminals, with currently 653 of those being operational. The addition of these terminals would bring that total approved terminal count to 902. Natrona County has a population of just over 60,000 people that are over the age of 20, according to census.gov as of 2024. The current statewide approved terminal count per person rate over 20 is 1 terminal for every 63 people. Natrona County's rate would be 1 terminal for every 67 people, coming in slightly lower than the statewide average. With that, Mr. President, I would stand for any questions on this. Also in your packet, you'll see Natrona County Resolution 1619. This location's operating under, a previously approved county resolution that doesn't restrict terminal counts or anything of that nature for this property. So staff didn't see any real concerns with this request.
Thank you, Director Laramendi. Commissioners, do any of you have any questions for Director Laramendi or for Ms. Laycock with regards to this request? Well, we're looking to take some action. You're on a roll.
All right. I move to accept the application location in Evansville for Wyoming Downs.
Okay, to add 28 for a total of 100. Do I hear a second?
Commissioner Schiffer seconds.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion amongst the commissioners? Online or here in the room? From the public? Are there any hands raised? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item 8.
President Cavello, item number 8A is a voluntary closure for the OTB location in Riverton of 307 Horse Racing. You'll see in your packet on page 60, the letter from Ms. Laycock about the closure of this one. This location, this was a business decision to close this location due to market conditions. It is a permanent closure as well. I can pull those terminal counts. I'll let Ms. Laycock speak to this while I get those.
Ms. Laycock, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. Tracy Laycock, General Counsel for 307 Horse Racing. This was a voluntary closure and due to market conditions there in Riverton, We've worked well with the city to work on getting the site closed, and we actually attended the last city council meeting to explain to everyone what was going on. I believe we had about 6 employees there in Riverton, and now just working to get the liquor license transferred back to the original owner. I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Ms. Lakeoff?
President Cavello, just so you're aware, this would be a reduction of 58 terminals,
Okay, very
approved
good.
58 terminals.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Tracy, then are these terminals put into a warehouse someplace also?
Yes, President Cavello, Commissioner Cura, that is correct. So these are all located currently in the warehouse in Casper. And when we decide or can redeploy them, we'll work with the Gaming Commission to do that.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions?
I get paid.
You get paid per motion. Yes.
I move to accept the closure of the Riverton location for 307 horse racing.
We have a motion to accept the closure. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second. Is there any discussion amongst commissioners? In public? Are there any hands raised? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the closure, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on. Item B.
President Cavello, item number 8B, this will begin on page 62.
62.
Item number 8B is a terminal increase request from 307 Horse Racing for their Poplar property just down the street here. This one's a little bit unique, and I say that actually because the original feasibility study was listed for just at 80 terminals. The original county approval was just at 80 terminals. But when 307 first applied for this, they had only applied for 57 terminals. So this request is actually to take that approval number to what they originally had planned for the feasibility study and the county. Since the original feasibility study contemplated these numbers, staff doesn't see any issues with this addition as well. And I would stand for any questions.
Any questions for Director Lamonde? Okay, obviously, this is just a move from 57 to 80. Obviously, we have approval of the county, and it fits within the parameters per machines per individual, or per individuals per machine, I guess.
President Cavello, that is correct. In fact, on page 67, I did this report after the first report, so they were in order. So this actually brings the approved terminal count for Natrona County to 925 with the addition of the Evansville one that was just approved. So that puts it at 1 for every 63. So it puts it now a little bit lower than the one at 65, but it's still fairly comparable.
It's the other way around, 65.
Yeah, correct.
63 is the average, so it puts it slightly above still, correct?
Correct, yes.
Very good. All right. We're looking to take action.
Mr. President, I so move we accept.
We have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Commissioner Schiffer seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion amongst the commissioners? Seeing or hearing none, we'll move to the public. Is there anything from the public? Are there any hands raised? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Nick, we'll move on to item C.
President Cavello, item number 8C is another terminal increase request from 307 Horse Racing for their Douglas property located at 1793 Murfield Court. This request is for the addition of 50 terminals. So this would take it from 50 to 100 terminals. This one is more unique than the last one. So this one, this request contemplates the closure of the Wyoming Downs property across the street. So with this approval, or if this is approved, these 50 terminal increase to the 307 property would then close the doors on the Wyoming Downs property across the street. So the total terminal count in Converse County and in Douglas, Wyoming would remain at 100. It would just be consolidated to one property. Because of that, we had two feasibility studies, each contemplated 50 and 50. This one, that since it absorbs that, there's no need for a new feasibility study. All the numbers still look good. The staff would recommend approval of this one on the condition that when 307 increases the Murfield Court to 100, the Douglas property must close. That way, those numbers stay intact at the 100. And I would stand for any questions on this one too. Also with this, on page 74 is the county resolution that also approves this. So there's no issues in the county either.
Mr. President,
Yes, Commissioner.
Tracy, you have an opinion on the amendment?
Yes. President Covello, through you to Commissioner Broussard. Yes, that is the plan. So we would be fine with that addition to the motion. The only way that we would increase the terminals in Douglas at the Ranahans location would be to close the Downs location. So in our plans, that's exactly what we've contemplated, and that's what we've communicated to local authorities as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? To Director Laramendi or Ms. Laycock? If not, we'll be looking to make some kind of movement here.
How about this, guys?
Any of you guys have any questions or comments online there? Commissioner Schiffer? Okay, no.
Well, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve with the condition that the location across the street closes. Help me out here.
Okay, so basically, we're looking that your motion would be to approve the increase of 50 terminals to the 307 location at the Ranahan, is that what it's called? Contingent upon the closure of the Wyoming Downs across the street.
President Covello, I think that would be correct, yes.
Okay. All right, so that is the motion. Do I hear a second?
President Cavella, Commissioner Ritzeler, I'd second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion from amongst the commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Schiffer, yours is the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for a point of clarification, is there going to be a formal motion brought before the commission to close the Wyoming Downs location across the street, or is that just something that's going to happen here? Thank you.
President Covello, through you to Commissioner Schiffer.
Certainly.
It would be our preference to handle this like we have the other closures, which would be to notify Mr. Laramendi of the closure. The Wyoming Gaming Commission staff would then have to approve the floor at Ranahans to go live. And that would, of course, be conditioned upon that other site being closed. So I think we can work well with staff to accomplish that and then inform the commission at the next meeting what has happened, similar to the other closures.
So basically, we're going to accomplish the increase with this, but they will actually not go live until you come back, close the other location, and then you'll be able to accomplish the increase.
President Covello, that's correct. That's how we've handled the other transfers. We ensure that the other location is closed and dormant prior to us being able to make the terminals live at the transfer. So very similar here.
So today was to allow you to do the planning for that.
That's
In the
correct.
future. Do you have any more questions, Commissioner Schiffer? Okay. Any other questions from any of the other commissioners? Public? Comments, questions? Any other hands raised anywhere? Yes, Mr. Ridgway, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, I'm monitoring the legislature and doing this at the same time, so I've misclicked my hand a couple times, but I'll just add to what Miss Laycock was saying. I guess I should. Kyle Ridgway, president of Wyoming Downs and 307 Horse Racing. Because there's only so many meetings this year, it will take some construction planning for us at that Ranahan's property. There was a wall that separated the sides that'll have to be removed. So there's some work that we need to do to be able to add those terminals and consolidate the properties. Operationally, having one property instead of two is beneficial, and it's beneficial for the community, as I think is obvious. But we wanted to make sure we had the flexibility to know when we were ready to move the terminals that we didn't do all this construction work, come back, and then be told we're not allowed to do it. The way that it works when we move the machines around is our gaming team actually works with Nick's team. So anytime we touch a machine or remove a machine off a floor or put it in storage or take it out of storage or move it from one location to another, we have to work with staff, commission staff, to alert them to get approval to do that, so they know where the asset numbers are on each floor. So the way this would theoretically work is when we're ready to open or expand the 307 property, we'd send a formal notice to the commission staff. And then before a machine can touch that new floor, I would assume the staff would be able to say, you have to close that counter property before you can increase above whatever the 307 one wanted. Because we're probably not going to go to 100 immediately. We'll probably move, 30 of them or something. So I think the amendment's clear enough that commission staff can enforce the minute that 307 is ready to go above the 50, it requires us to close the counter property.
Thank you. We appreciate that, Mr. Ridgway. Anything else from anyone? I believe we have a motion and a second on the floor. No further discussion. We'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. On to item 8D.
President Cavillo, item number 8D is a terminal increase request from 307 Horse Racing for the Ridge Road Cheyenne property. This one actually is kind of coexists with the closure of the Outlaw Saloon property. With that closure of the Outlaw Saloon property, the Ridge Road property is looking to absorb that, reduction in those. If you look on your packet, beginning on page
77.
77.
Nope, that's Douglas.
that one's Douglas, Mr.
Sorry.
President.
Yep.
So it actually starts on page 82. On 83, actually, you'll see that 307 Horse Racing reapproached Laramie County Commissioners. The county resolution that the Ridge Road property was operating under had limitations that this would exceed. So they reapproached the Laramie County Commissioners seeking the increased numbers to coincide with the county resolution. The Board of County Commissioners in Laramie County approved that request from 307 to take that number from 125 to 170 terminals. Again, since this is kind of really a moval of terminals from one location to a new location and the closure of that other one, this doesn't affect the overall terminal counts in Laramie County. So staff would recommend approval. I would also like to note that some of these consolidations are definitely helpful for staff. There is a cost of regulating every one of these locations. So the fewer locations that staff has to go travel to, the less expensive it is for the commission as well to travel and do that. So staff would recommend approval for this as well.
Thank you. Ms. Laycock, do you have anything you want to add?
President Cavillo, just reiterating that we did go to the county commissioners explicitly stating that this is where the terminals from the Outlaw would go in Cheyenne. So this is another benefit of our joint venture between 307 Horse Racing and Wyoming Downs. So it gives us the flexibility. We have space at that property instead of opening a new location in Laramie County. So we would ask for approval.
Okay. Very good. Are there any questions from the commission or from the public with regards to this to either the director or Ms. Laycock? Hearing none, would we look for some kind of action with regards to this? Don't weaken now, Troy.
I move that we accept the terminal increase for 307 horse racing at the Cheyenne location presented.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Commissioners online, any discussion from you fellas? Hearing nothing, how about the public? Are there any hands raised online? Hearing or seeing nothing, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Nick, we're moving on at the speed of light to item number 9.
President Covello, call me Flash. This is great. The next item up is item number 9A. This would be track construction updates from Cowboy Racing.
Yeah, maybe stop. Hang on just a second, Nick.
I just had a question regarding, after all the dust settles on moving, what's the total plus minus of locations after all this? Are we down like 4 locations?
President Covello, I believe we're down two total locations. But I can pull those numbers because I have it. As it stands right now today, when I look at our counts, we had 2 full closures there was really no changes. So that was the Outlaw Saloon and then the Riverton property. Those are closed. But I'll pull the history of the terminal numbers to see where that's at. We have had a reduction in terminal counts as well.
But the one that's proposed to close, we didn't see that yet.
That is correct.
In reality, we're going to close 3 or 4.
In reality, it will be three currently right now. That is
Net
correct.
loss of 3 locations.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
And President Covello, if I may, I think that's kind of important too, because one of the things that, the commission keeps hearing is how gaming is everywhere. And it's, in my opinion, what we are hearing, it's not necessarily the number of total terminals, it's the number of physical locations. So the consolidation of these properties is also, it's very good for that purpose as well.
Thank you, Director. All right, back to item 9, Cowboy Racing LLC. We have a track construction update. Mr. Edwards, do you want to handle that?
Yes, good morning, commissioners. Thank you. My name is Will Edwards with Cowboy Racing. With us, I have today Bill Edwards, who's the developer of Thunder Plains Park. We also have Jody Shea, who's general counsel, and we are pleased to invite Shannon Rustin, who is the executive director of operations and racing for Bally's Arapahoe Park. In addition, we have Lauren Thompson, who is with us online. She's general counsel for Cowboy Racing. And with that, I think I'll hand it over to Bill for a construction update.
Construction, Mr. President, let me start out by saying thank you for hearing us this morning. Quite a process in getting here last night and worse for you this morning. Thanks for hearing me and commission members. So the construction update, I guess, falls on me because that's what I've done for a number of decades. And I'm proud of that fact and proud of the process or the progress we've made at the track this winter. In spite of, we've had a decent winter, but we have had wind, and Laramie County is just been a wind tunnel. But in spite of that, additional progress that I wasn't necessarily planning on making has been made. Getting to the point, the site itself, which encompasses the track and so on and so forth, is 220 acres. That grading is basically complete, meaning there's some fine grading left to be done for some of the custom locations for the various buildings, shop, the racing office, the paddock, and some of these areas are being set to grade for the buildings to be constructed. The front gate and security fence is a post and rail and decorative, but also useful in terms of the security. That has been staked and the contractor is actually starting before this cold turned in. That'll take about 2 more weeks to put that in, and we'll be secured at that point. All of the roadways are complete and gravelled and ready to go. The track itself, all of the fine grading is ready to go, is completed and ready to go for the racing cushion to be installed. The interior railing is complete. The interior drainage system is complete. We have a brand new exterior rail that has been fabricated, shipped, and should be here next week. That exterior railing is, as you might imagine, is 4-inch aluminum, specifically made and purchased from a company that sells these specifically for horse racing tracks. It'll be quite nice. This railing will go in after the cushion is put in. The racing cushion is something that people don't maybe think about too much, but it's the center place of a professional track. And the process of processing the material to put on the track has been somewhat arduous. We have worked with 3 different soil testing companies, including a professional from here in Cheyenne in the area of material handling and screening material. That process goes on. We now have a good recipe for it. We'll have some imported material to make that perfect recipe for our area. And that process is slated to begin in 3 weeks and will take 6 to 8 weeks to complete. Again, obviously this is finer material that takes quite a bit of water to lay it down and so on and so forth. And wind is a issue and is daily a frustrating thing, but we'll get through that. The electric is a little bit of a head schedule of what they told us. It has been staked and they are ready to bring it in. It'll be a 480 volt 3-phase system that will handle not only the track, but also the track improvements and future improvements that may happen. With that, I think my report is complete.
Thank you. Very good. Does anyone have any questions or comments with regards to the track construction update? While everyone's here. Mr. Schiffer, you have your hand raised. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, an oral report is useful. A written timeline of how you're all going to get this done to the point of your first race date would be more useful. So I would like to request that we get a written timeline from you on each of these items that need to be completed prior to the track being inspected for approval, which I'm not sure, but I believe that's somewhere 6 to 8 weeks before the actual race date. So would that be possible to receive from you all at Cowboy Racing? Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. President, through you, we have an internal critical path that we use and we consult, certainly on a weekly basis. And it's constantly being updated. I don't know that we have a problem sharing that with the commission.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
If that answers the question.
Okay, if you would get that to Director Laramie, he can share it with the commissioners. Anyone else? Did you have anything further, Commissioner Schiffer? Okay, anything from anyone else? Thank you for the construction update. We'll move on to item 9B.
President Cavello, item number 9B, Cowboy Racing LLC. This is the Bally's acquisition. So in your packet, this would be supplemental 3 for you all, and it's
600 pages?
all 603 pages of it. So as you can see, this is a very in-depth process to go through. But what the commission is looking at today or to consider today is the transfer of Cowboy Racing's live event permit to Bally's, and Bally's would take control of that permit. With that, Cowboy Racing will no longer hold a live event permit. That permit will be held by Bally's Wyoming. Bally's will be the ones, coming before you all after this date for anything in the future in regards to the track or racing. Starting on page 2 of the 600 pages, supplemental 3, you'll see the beginning of the review. The commission originally received this request in November 18th of 2025. We began the preliminary review. We had requested some additional information that was all provided. Our law enforcement team did individual backgrounds on the corporate officers of Bally's, the ones that are required that actually will control the permit. I believe there were 6 of them. All of those backgrounds were completed without any indications. I think it's important to remember that Bally's is a very, very large company with very, very good gaming ties. That makes it a little bit easier. These folks are licensed in multiple jurisdictions in gaming spaces all over the world. You'll also see, I handed out to you all this morning, Resolution 260217-6. The Laramie County Commission approved the transfer of their county approvals from Cowboy Racing to Bally's. Under the parimutuel statutes in Title 11, it says that the commission may only grant a permit to an operator or a corporation that's been approved by the county. With this approval from the county commissioners, Bally's Wyoming has received county approval to operate a live horse track in Laramie County. So that is a statutory requirement that has been met. Further on down, I think the most important thing, I had a really good conversation with the Bally's folks this week. I think it was, I don't know, my days are mixed now. This week about the phasing plan of this. Their phasing plan is a little bit different than the original phasing plan that was authorized on this permit through Cowboy Racing. I think I pointed that all out to you all in the email that I sent you for consideration. So most importantly, and I'll let Mr. Rushton speak to this on the barns and that stuff. Bally's has every intention of having that permanent in place prior to live racing instead of doing temporary and then moving them in phases. So if I don't throw them too much under the bus, I'll let Mr. Rushton speak about their phasing plans and then I can pick up from there.
Mr. Rushton, the floor is yours. That one's broken. Sorry.
Yes, I'm done.
Not so easy.
I get the part, who.
That would be fine, but let's get that mic working. And actually, it's kind of wound up under there, maybe.
That's who I am. And
Thank you. We'll
Thank you,
unwind
Kirk.
that mic so there's a little bit more room there. Thanks, Troy. You were going to do exactly what I was going to do. Give you a little bit more. Give you a little slack there. He's just going to move. Okay.
thank you, Mr. President, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to appear before you today, Director Larmundi as well. Would like to thank Nick first and foremost for a conversation we did have earlier this week about moving forward with Bally's as being a member of the Wyoming Racing and Gaming. We look forward to that with eager anticipation. With that, we want you to have faith in the Bally's name that we are coming in here to do a project that you will all be proud of when you step on to the location. Moving forward with that, we are prepared to hit the ground running after this meeting today. We, unfortunately, with some of the delays that have gone on, we're going to look at building 5 80-stall barns for the first year. That'll be 400 stalls. There are 10 by 12 prefer stalls. They're the top of the line stalls that are out there. That is what we will be putting in these barns. These barns are 80 by 250 feet. They will be an open air type barn. That's what we have at Arapahoe Park. I prefer that just because I think it helps prevent sickness in horses. You get too many in one barn enclosed and you tend to have a problem. So I prefer the open air concept. So we will be moving forward with that. We are prepared to have the barns delivered on site the first week in May, and stalls from Prefert will start to be delivered the middle of May. And so prior to that, we will be working on foundations, everything like that, to be prepared for as soon as the barns show up, we can begin putting them. Our intent is to race in 2026 with the dates that were given to Cowboy Racing. It is Bally's intent to run those dates in 2026. I very much appreciate the offer that Director Laramendi gave us this past week of his concerns about possible construction delays, things along those lines that, you know, yes, we've had a mild winter and we have had wind, but I grew up on a farm and ranch in southeastern Colorado, and my grandfather used to call them cow-killing blizzards. If we would happen to have a cow-killing blizzard in March or April and slow things down, we may need to come to you folks and say, look, we can't make it happen this year, but I will guarantee you we'll make it happen in 2027. But we have every intention of racing in 2026.
Mr. Rushton, if I may, are you aware through the construction, and I know these guys are because we've talked about it several times, just to make sure that we have to have the facility done considerably in advance in order to perform an inspection before you can be licensed and turned loose. Has Nick gone over that with you in your?
He has,
Okay,
and our
wonderful.
intent is to have, I'm sorry, Mr. President,
You're
I
fine.
didn't mean to, I'm used to
You're
a
fine.
Colorado association too, so if I call you Mr. Chairman, please forgive me.
No
So,
problem whatsoever.
Lettuce.
But far worse.
But yes, Mr. President, our intention is to have everything completed by the 1st of August so the state can come in and do what they need to do as far as inspections. I know that's a very aggressive timeline, but I think folks that know me know that when I take something on, I take it on full speed, and I have every intention of making that happen.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
Mr. President, if I may, if we go August 1st, the only thing that I want to make sure is if we start to see that might not be attainable, that we get noticed as soon as we can, because we'll have contracts that we have to cancel.
Yeah.
We did that last year, and we ended up canceling some contracts kind of late, and it caused some problems. So if you start to see that August 1st might not, the soonest we can know, the better, so we can get certain contracts canceled.
Go ahead,
Mr. President.
Rushton.
In conversations, I believe that sometime in May, we'll definitely, I can tell you for sure whether or not we're going to be able to hit that target.
That'd
Okay.
be good.
Very good. We have a meeting in May, and that'd be good to be able to have that discussion by then.
And if I may, just to give a little bit of background on our company as well. Bally's operates 20 casinos in different in the United States and the UK. They only owned one horse track before now, and that was Arapahoe Park in Colorado, of which I've been a part of since it was first built in 1984. It then went bankrupt, and I was there in 1992 as the executive director of the Horsemen's Association up until 2020, when the then GM came to me and said, look, I'm getting ready to retire. I'd like for you to take over for me when that happens. So I got thrown into a hornet's nest and took a few stings, but I think we came out fine on the other side of that. I am very proud of the track that we operate in Colorado. I believe we do a great job of doing that. I have a great staff that does that. And as I offered to Bill, when we start laying down the cushion, I'm going to bring my staff up here to do that. You may have seen some articles on us last year. We ended the meet at Arapahoe Park with 0 casualties, 0 breakdowns. I'm very proud of that. I'm a horseman at heart, 3rd generation trainer, got my license when I was 18 years old. And some people say I came to the dark side by doing this, but here I am. So I look forward to working with you all as we go forward, and please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions as we move forward in this process.
Thank you, Mr. Rushton. Anyone else?
Mr. President,
Okay.
Commissioner Boland Schiffer.
Okay, so we're gonna go with Commissioner Bowl first and then
Schiffer.
you, okay. All right, Dennis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Rushton, if the transfer is approved by the commission, what role will Mr. Edwards and Cowboy Racing have in completing the construction activity that needs to be completed?
Mr. President, through you to Commissioner Bowl, if you don't mind me answering that question, I should have mentioned it when we addressed the critical path question. We're the general contractor of the development through our contract and our agreements with Bally's. They had strong preferences on how they wanted the barns to be built. They had specific designs and ideas for what has served them well in the past. And so it was their preference that they take over the construction of the barns. Other than that, we're here to facilitate the rest of the construction of the development is essentially the way to, and I'm happy to include in our critical path the timelines with their construction and their plans with the barns.
And
That answers
Mr.
your
Edwards, if
question.
you would, when you say we, are you talking Cowboy Racing? Are you
Cowboy
talking
Racing in conjunction with Bally's, Wyoming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dennis, does that answer your question or would you like a follow-up?
I have a follow-up, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Mr. Rushton, has your organization done an independent, objective evaluation of what needs to be completed in order to have racing in 2026?
Mr. President.
Go right ahead.
Commissioner Bowl, am I saying that correct?
Yeah.
I apologize if I butcher somebody's name today, so please bear with me. I'll get better as we go along. We have done an evaluation and know that we are essentially, Commissioner, working with a blank canvas. And there aren't many racetracks in this country being built right now. We know it is a daunting task in front of us. But I've worked with All-in-One Construction to construct the barns, the stalls. They are very familiar with what we've done at Arapahoe Park as well. So I have a comfort level with them and know that while we have a lot in front of us, this first year's racing, there will probably be some temporary structures there, Commissioner, as far as the buildings for the racing office and the commission staff, jocks room quarters, things along those lines. If I'm able, though, to get those built for the first year, I will. But I want everyone to anticipate that those could be temporary structures for year one in order to meet the timelines that we're going to have to meet.
So, Your Honor, if I could follow up again. Mr. Rushton, the only thing I would say to you is that the history with this project has been, unusual, I guess. Cowboy Racing has been overly optimistic about when they're going to get their improvements constructed and when they're going to start racing. We've set a couple sets of racing dates. So far, none of them have been met. The commission's given Cowboy Racing the benefit of the doubt, I think because we want a track in Cheyenne. We believe that it'll help horse racing industry as a whole. So the only thing I would ask is if you're getting close and objectively it doesn't look like you're going to reach the level to provide a safe and comfortable race for the horses and the people, that you bring the commission in and let's not do a half-ass season in 2026. When I hear that we're going to be ready for 2026, I don't believe it. I don't disbelieve it. I'm at the point where I need to see what's going to happen. And I just want you to be aware that, we've had promises before that things would be ready, and none of those have come to pass. So hopefully Bally's involvement will help. We'll see. But you have the same construction contractor that's been involved in the project from the beginning. That concludes my remarks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Schiffer, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. Rushton. I learned a new term today. It's called critical path, which I didn't know as a term of art before. But I would ask the same of you that I asked of Cowboy Racing, that you provide us with a written critical path of your scenario to get from where you are after today to having the track ready and the race meet ready to run and on August 1st, if that's your target date. Could you provide that to us, please?
Mr. President.
Go ahead, Mr. Weston.
I'm happy to do so, sir. We will prepare that and have that ready for you next week.
All right, that would be great. Thank you so much. Second, if I may,
Go ahead.
can I ask, are you applying to run race dates at Arapahoe Park in Colorado this summer?
Mr. President. Yes, sir. We have our license application already submitted with the Colorado Division of Racing Events to start June 12th and race through August, I believe it's 16th. 30 days.
Okay. Excuse me, go ahead.
30 days is the minimum requirement in Colorado.
And do you contemplate using personnel from your race meet in Colorado as personnel to, for instance, running the track, the gates, et cetera, when you come up to Thunder Plains?
Commissioner, I do. I'm planning on using the same staff at Arapahoe that I've worked with for years to come into Thunder Plains to operate that in year one. I have a lot of faith in those folks, and I believe they'll do an outstanding job, one that you'll be proud of.
Okay, that sounds great. I assume that you'll be working with Nick to get those individuals licensed so that they can perform those duties in Wyoming. One other question. There seems to be some ambiguity about the total amount of purses you're contemplating offering at this meet. I saw one number in around 800,000, I believe, and then I saw a number, I believe, twice that amount. Can you address the ambiguity on that, please?
Mr. President.
Go ahead.
In discussions with the president of Bally's, George Papineer, when we first looked at the property, my comment to him was we may have to front load the purse fund for this in year one to make that work. He asked me what I thought it would take. I suggested $100,000 a day, so 1.6 million for a 16-day meet. And part of that discussion was we have the same situation in Arapahoe in years past, where if we did have an overpayment in purses, we had an agreement with the Horsemen's Association that allowed us to pay ourselves back. So we weren't just eating that cost. And that would be the same approach we would take in Wyoming, sir.
That really sounds great. I think you're going to get great participation with that kind of a purse schedule, and I hope and pray that you all get to that point and we get it done. So thank you very much.
We can use a lot of prayers, sir. I appreciate that very much.
Commissioner Broussard.
Yep. First one's just to come. Thank you, Mr. President, Your Honor. First one, the critical path list. Did you share this phase one? Do these guys have this phase one list? Page 3. I think that's a good place to start as far as addressing our concerns and the critical path.
President Broussard, you're talking the phase one will include, you're talking my internal report?
Yes.
President Cavello, Commissioner Broussard, yeah, that's copy and pasted from the letter received from Bally's. So Bally's provided that exactly.
So, as a suggestion, I think these are the things we'd be interested in knowing their timeline. So having said that, you're probably already ahead of me. Secondly, are you familiar with the 100-mile rule that we have?
I'm Mr. President.
Yes, go
I
ahead.
am trying to make myself familiar with a lot of the rules in this state that are different than what we have in Colorado. And so, as you may say, it's baptism by fire. I'm jumping in with both feet, trying to understand all that and learn how all that works.
So I guess you haven't made a plan around how you're going to interact with the other operators yet in regard to the 100-mile rule?
Not as of yet. I've been chomping at the bit, trying to be able to come in here to start constructing things so we could get things done. And so now that hopefully after today's meeting, we'll begin to move forward with those discussions and negotiations.
Thank you. That's answered me.
Anyone else?
President Covello, if I may, real quickly, for Commissioner Bowl, his first question about the Edwards Construction and their relationship to the project. If you look at page 297 in your packet, you will see that what they're still going to be doing. I just want to make sure that was clear that that's in your packet so you can see exactly what that is. And then for Commissioner Schiffer, I also want to make sure that everybody understands that if this permit is transferred to Bally's, Bally's becomes the license holder, and Bally's will be the one to present information and whatever you all request to you all. Cowboy Racing will not be really on the hook anymore for any of that. That'll all have to come through Bally's because Bally's will be the licensee. So we'll have to work just directly with Bally's. Bally's can have whoever they want do updates or construction, but it'll all come through Bally's.
Okay. You had a question or comment? You'll need to come to a microphone, please. You can come up and actually use one of these if you'd like. I asked him first. Go right ahead. There you go.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm Dan Lee. I'm president of Wabra, Wyoming All Breeds Racing Association. And if I may direct my comment to Mr. Rushton, I couldn't hear you properly back there. You mentioned in your construction phase of the barn area that you were looking at 5 80-stall barns, which is 400 stalls. Am I correct, sir?
Mr. President. Yes, sir, that is correct. That, I believe, under the timeline that we are in right now, that will be pushing us to get all those done.
Okay, my comment on that would be, sir, currently we have 2 horseman representative groups in the state, and respectfully speaking for both them and all the horsemen involved in the state, we visited with Mr. Diedrichson with Wyoming Downs, Jack Greer with 307, and also Eugene Joyce with Wyoming Horse Racing. I know Jack last year was able to provide 1,300 stalls. And I know Wyoming Downs and Sweetwater Downs in Rock Springs, Wyoming are rapidly trying to increase their number to 1,000 stalls. And we still have a little bit of overflow. I strongly recommend you come up with the financing and the help needed to increase your stall number significantly in order to be able to house the equine athletes that need to come and provide a great racing experience at your track. I know we would all love to come participate there. It's going to be great to have another track in Wyoming, a privately owned track of that such large scale when it's completed. But the overflow of horses, when you're bringing that number of horses to come to compete at your stakes races and at your overnight races, there's no place to hold the overflow. And when these trainers come to town and bring barns of 20, 40, maybe even 60 head of horses each, they have to have a place to set up and stay for roughly the 4 weeks of your event. So just a personal opinion there, sir. I would like for you guys to rethink your stalling and consider significantly increasing your number. Thank you.
Would you like to respond to that?
I appreciate that comment. We do intend in the future to have way more than that. We are looking at trying to get to the 1,000 number of stalls, but we didn't want to put the license in jeopardy this year by telling you, yes, I will get 1,000 stalls put in place this year. And then Director Laramoni calls me and says, hey, this isn't looking too good right now. So that's why we went with a conservative approach for year 1 to try and get through and then make it better for year 2. But I absolutely agree. We will increase that number.
Commissioner Schiffer, I see your hand is raised. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just kind of a follow-up question. I really think it's for Nick. If Bally's doesn't have any simulcast facilities, does the 100-mile rule come into play? Thank you.
President Cavello, Commissioner Shiver. So yes, because the 100-mile rule, we call it the rule, the 100-mile restrictions actually apply to the other operators that do have the locations. So yeah, the 100-mile rule really applies across the board, whether you have an OTB operational or not.
And if you don't mind, Nick, some further clarification. That rule applies to the date of the race, but also to the time of the race, not the whole day.
President Cavello, that is correct. It is the time the races are running.
Okay.
So historically, what we've done when there has not been a 100-mile agreement, the operations have to close down at the first post time of the race meet. And then when the last race goes official, our staff will actually physically call or get with all of the locations that are in that 100-mile area and then allow them to reopen.
Thank you for that clarification. Is there anything else anyone would like to question with regards to this application?
President Cavello, if I may, real quickly as well, just to Mr. Rushton's point, you'll actually see in the packet the additional stalls that they plan to build. That was contemplated in their submissions to us as well. That wasn't just that is correct. So.
Okay, I'll let Mr. Rushton go ahead. We'll let you first, and then we'll go to a member of the public.
Thank you, Mr. President. Director Laramendi, I don't know if it's appropriate at this point in time to talk about the conversation we had earlier this week about what potentially could happen if I talk to you in May and say, hey, we've had delays, not going to be able to make this happen this year. What you may be prepared to do at that point in time?
President Cavello, if I may. So this is, I had talked to a couple of commissioners, including you, Mr. President, about this, about, the concerns that we have with construction delays and the 16-day requirements and how that may affect simulcasting in the future. So one of the things that we had talked to Bally's about earlier this week was the possibilities of, how we structure this to where those 16 days this year, if we run into delays early on or something that those days are a wash. So we don't, but that only applies if they haven't opened an OTB facility. So if this transfer takes place and they open an OTB facility in a week or a month or whatever the case may be, that'll cause some issues with that. But I mean, there's definitely some options that we can look at as we continue to move forward if this is approved with Bally's.
All right, next we'll go with the person that's from the public. Do you have a name for us? Chelsea, the floor is yours.
Hi, this is Chelsea Hackbarth, Editor-in-Chief of the Pollock Report. I saw an email noting that upon closing, Bally's would transfer a 20% stake in ownership back to Bill and Will Edwards under a new name. And I just wanted to understand what the role of Mr. and Mr. Edwards will be in this racetrack going forward.
Will, the floor is yours.
President, through you, this was part of our agreement to bring Bally's in. We have a passion for this project. It's been our baby, and we've, since its conception. And this is our way of staying involved with it. We agreed with Bally's on very favorable terms to encourage them to come into the state. We think it ensures the success of the project, and it's a boon for Wyoming horse racing. So we wanted to make every advantage to give Bally's the opportunity to come in. And as a result of that, we're remaining involved in the project, just taking more of a back seat after the development is completed. I hope that answers the reporter's question.
Chelsea, does that answer your question?
Sure, thank you.
If I may, Mr. President.
You may.
Feel free to contact me. You can get my information from the Gaming Commission. We can have an interview and I can answer some of those questions.
Anyone else? Any other hands raised? Brandy, floor is yours.
Thank you, President Cavella. I'm Brandy Koltiska. I am a gaming commission staff, Wyoming Gaming Commission staff who oversees live racing. I just had a quick question for Mr. Rushton. As a regulatory, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. As a regulatory entity, we're looked to overseeing everything on live racing. And I just had a question because of the major issues that have faced Bally's at Arapahoe Park regarding some regulatory issues and also issues regarding where the backstress had suffered serious maintenance failures, electricity and water. And over the last 2 years, the 24 and 25 racing meet faced significant delays in licensing with changing of race dates. How do you plan on making sure those problems do not affect us here in Wyoming, since it does seem to be a problem in Colorado?
Mr. President.
Certainly, go ahead, Mr. Rushton.
Brandy, when I took over in 2024, this was dropped in my lap, the situation that was occurring. There was concerns about the electrical that was in the barns at Arapahoe Park that was put in 1984. We had met with the county on numerous occasions to decide what they wanted to do. The most drastic measure, they wanted us to rewire all the barns, which we are 3/4 of the way through that process of doing. The first year of that in 2024, I believe it was, we had to run a race meet without electricity, something I didn't want to have to do. But I felt a commitment to the horsemen to make sure they had an opportunity and a place to run for the purse money so they didn't skip a year. Because in the horse business, if you skip a year, you're out of business. So we ran that meet that year without electricity. The next year we came back, continued to negotiate with the county to try and meet the requirements they were going to come up with. And finally, and I believe it was July of 2025, we got the approvals. The permits were done. We were able to get, I believe it was 16 barns open at that point in time with all the electrical done, everything approved by the county, and away we went. The water issues, I'm not sure what they're talking about there unless it was the test barn that they were concerned about. They wanted the test barn to be ADA compliant for the restrooms in the test barn. Ultimately, the county said, we give you a permit just for repairs only. And that's what we did. And so I think the meet, and if you'll ask any of the horsemen that were there the last year, I think they will tell you that it was very successful and they were happy with how the barns had been rewired and things worked out very well. So I do not see any of those issues coming up here, but I've learned a lot of things over the last 2 years and what I had to deal with down there that I would guarantee you won't happen up here.
You have any follow-up, Brandy?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other hands raised? Anything from anyone else? Okay, we'll be looking to take action upon this request for acquisition.
President Cavella, so moving back to the packet, beginning on page 8, this is what you all are considering. It's the permit application for a live event, pari-mutuel event. This is transferring Cowboy Racing's live event permit to Bally's. And my apologies, because I just noticed 2 things. I've looked through this no less than a half a dozen times, all 600 pages of it. But I just noticed 2 things that we are going to need to clarify real quick. So on the dates requested for 2026, it has the end of September dates, October, November, but I don't believe the September dates are a thing, right?
September 25, 26, 27.
It'll be starting October, correct?
Not 19, it's 16 minus September, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. President, it would be 16 days, not the 19 days, starting that first weekend in October. There would not be an overlap with Sweetwater Downs.
Okay. Very
Perfect.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then the other thing that I just noticed is the date the track would be open for training. This actually says July 15th. I wonder, you're thinking August? So should we change that to August 15th?
Mr. President, yes, August 15th would be preferred on that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Change before anything's executed. Okay. Anything else from anyone? Public? Commissioners?
I move that we accept the acquisition as presented with the changes that Mr. Larramendi suggested.
I second that
I have
motion.
a motion and second on the floor. Commissioners, do you have any discussion? Any discussion, commissioners? Public? Yes. Yes. Commissioner Bowl, floor is yours.
Mr. Rushkin, I just wanted to welcome you on board and good luck.
Okay. Back to comments or discussion.
That's a good comment.
Anything raised? Hearing or seeing nothing, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the acquisition, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. At this point, before we move on, we're going to take a break for pause for the cause, and we will come back at 10:15.
Starting on number 11.
Time.
I wonder what happened here.
Nick, if you'd take the roll, we'll get ready to roll.
Thank you, President Covello.
Here.
Commissioner Torgerson is absent. Commissioner Bull,
Present.
Commissioner Schiffer,
Here.
Commissioner Broussard,
Here.
Vice President Ritholder,
Here.
Commissioner Kura,
Here.
Commissioner Francisco,
Here.
Commissioner Wildcat's absent, and the liaisons are also absent. President Covello, we still have a quorum.
Very good. Thank you. We're done with item 9. All of item 10 was on the consent list, so we'll move right along to 11. 11A.
President Covello, item number 11A be A1. The following discussion will be all about rules. We have parimutuel rules, chapters 1, 2, 6, and 8, and then skill-based amusement games, chapter 4. So we will start, this will be in supplemental 2 of your packet, starting on page 2. The first chapter up for consideration is Wyoming Gaming Commission parimutuel chapter rule or chapter 1 definitions. Starting on page 4, we've added some definitions of a bleeder and a bleeders list on page 1.3. President Covello, let me back up a little bit. So the main purpose or the main driving force behind these rule changes, in fact, all of these rule changes are coming from one of 3 places. They are coming from direct recommendations from the safety inspections that were completed in 2024. They are coming directly from our stewards or safety officer at the track, or the vet at the track. And a couple of these have just been identified internally for changes. The last one, when we get to chapter 8, that was a petition for a rule change by the horsemen. We'll get to that one later. So that's the background for this. So these ones here, defining a bleeder and a bleeders list, starting on page 1.3. These are coming as recommendations from the state vet, Dr. Erickson, who's been the state vet at the racetrack for us for 15 plus years. Charlie would know better than I would on that one, actually, but it's over 15 years. Over the last couple of years, Dr. Erickson has really been a driving force and really going out and seeking education on racetrack stuff. And he's bringing this stuff in front of you all. So bleeder and bleeders list, defining those on page 1.4, commission employee. This is an addition. This makes sense further on down the road, but it just defines what a commission employee is, meaning a full-time, part-time, or contract employee hired by the commission whose job duties are directly involved with the conduct, operation, regulation, or supervision of parimutuel activities. Additionally, on page 1.4, there's actually just some grammatical changes for directly involved. It now says pertaining instead of pertains. Going to page 1.5, there's a new definition of horsemen's association, and all that is doing is pointing to statute 1125-102A XII, which already defines a horseman's agreement in state statute. Further on down that, double J is the LASIX list, which means a tabulation of all horses placed on the voluntary LASIX list to be maintained by the commission vet. Also, this is coming as recommendations from our state vet. There's quite a bit of renumbering you'll see because of the addition of some of these. On page 1.6 SS, we just changed changed the definition of a nominator just to, I guess, make sense, quite honestly. Instead of saying a nominator is a person whose name a horse is entered for a race, a nominator would now mean a person or entity that, I just noticed that it says that who fulfills, and it should probably just say that fulfills the necessary requirements to make a horse eligible to run in a specific race or a series of races. The definition of official starter, when we get further on, you'll see that a starter actually held 2 different definitions in the same word. It had a starter as a horse and a starter as a starter who actually opened the gates. We just divided that out to have the official starter being the one who opens the gates and the starter being a horse. That way there's not any confusion in that. Moving on down to 1.8. We added some language in a race day to where a race day means any period of 24 hours beginning at midnight and included in the period of a race meeting on which flat track horse racing is held. In order to qualify for a race day, the race day must contain all the required Wyoming bred races. This is being entered in here. You know, there's been a lot of discussion over the past years about the required 1-in-1 race or 1-in-1 Wyoming bred races not being written. So this would ensure that to qualify for those 16 days, as it stands today, if we didn't change the 1-in-1 requirement, that 1-in-1 would have to be written for it to be a
Race day.
race day. So if an operator failed to run those required races on 2 of their 16 days, they would only have 14 days that qualified as a race day, and that could cause some concerns or issues with the simulcasting ability. Again, there's a lot of renumbering on page 1.8. Page 1.9, you'll see at starter, it just removes the starter portion of the start of the race and just leaves that as a horse. President Covello, that is all for chapter 1, and it probably makes the most sense to maybe work these chapters and take comments, public comments per each chapter.
Yes. So that's chapter 1. And now let's start the discussion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
This is Commissioner Rittoller. Can these just be incorporated, or do they have to go through the 75-day approval and the regular rigmarole, or can these changes be made today?
President Covello, Vice President Rittoller. So they go through the standard standard rulemaking process. So
Yeah, they still do the 75 days public and governor signs on them and everything like that. So
that is correct. Yes, we'd still have to do the statement of principal reasons and all that stuff and submit them to the governor's office for his approval to move forward, and then do the formal public comment period as well. So yeah, that still applies.
And Nick, point of procedure, can we start discussing these before we have a motion to approve? Mr. Kaler? Okay, all right. Well, I see that you all are here, so the floor is yours.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy Laycock, General Counsel for 307 Horse Racing on Wyoming Downs. You know, of course, as a lawyer, we become wordsmiths, right? And when we look at changing definitions, they can seem simple on their face, but they can have huge ramifications. We're talking at approximately, 60 pages of rules today that are requesting to be changed. And even as we were going through initially for the definitions, I was starting to pick out words that my lawyer brain is saying, ooh, that's vague. We could make that more precise. And then when you talk about what qualifies as a race day, that's a huge change to the industry that I think requires the appropriate time and consideration before we rush through this. We also just approved a new operator today, and they're sitting in the room here today, but they're brand new to this state and as an operator, and we definitely want to give everybody adequate time. So what we're requesting today is that really, I think I've got another meeting scheduled on these rules in a week, and hopefully within 2 weeks, we will have in-depth submitted written comments from at least our 2 operators. And we've reached out to Wyoming Horse Racing. Of course, I haven't had an opportunity to speak to Bally's because their transfer just went through today. But you're talking about sweeping changes to the industry. And so what we would request is that we go through these today and that they are discussed, but that you give the operators time to submit thorough written comment, and that we go through those comments at the May meeting and take the appropriate time. And, we've literally had these for a week and a half, 2 weeks. And we're also in the middle of legislative session, which is a very busy time for us. So just respectfully, in light of Bally's coming online, we just would request that we have the ability to submit written comments, and hopefully they're a combined industry comment so that you can consider them in your deliberations before we move forward with the official rulemaking process. There are some things in here that we'll be able to agree to. We're not going to object to every single one, but we'll point those out as well in our written comments.
No, we're not going to do that. We're going to do it our way. No, just kidding. Absolutely. We're in no hurry to rush through this.
Okay. We appreciate
wanted
that.
to start from our point of view. We want to share that with you. I think we're prepared to probably table most all this until we make any votes or any things like that into May, but we got to get started.
Absolutely. And we appreciate the commission taking the lead, and it's very few times I don't get my way. So I appreciate Cactusville allowing me to have my way. No, we truly do appreciate the collaboration. We want to make this a meaningful process. And so I will submit our written comments in the next few weeks.
Yes, go ahead.
Really fast.
Well, you came up for a reason, so we'll let you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess as the new kid on the block, is there a possibility of having like a stakeholder workshop where we could discuss this with your staff, Nick, prior to it coming to the commission, where we can maybe have consensus on a certain group of them and we can say, yep, we're all good to go with that. So when we come to you, we're not sitting here arguing and fighting about that. And then we have the ones that we, are going to be contentious. Is it possible to do something along those lines? And I don't want to sound like that's how we've done it in Colorado, is we may have one or two stakeholder meetings and we put everything on the consent pile that we all agree to. And then these are like, okay, this group's going to fight this one on this. So it'll be, unfortunately, the commission's going to have to make that decision on that one. Would that be a possibility? I guess just because I'm new and trying to understand everything that's going on. And if it's not, tell me to shut up and go back down to Colorado and do it any other way. But
President Cavello, so just a little background on this and why this has changed a little bit. So what I have been hearing from legislators and other people is that they want the commission to take the lead on writing rules. They have felt for a long time that industry was drafting or writing their own rules, and these really weren't coming from the regulatory body, i.e. the commission. So the way that I've tried to structure this is that the commission takes the first crack at this. We've identified things, or we have, our stewards or the safety inspections bring these submissions, and then a small working group of commissioners, I start putting them together, and then I work with a small working group of the commissioners, and we go through them, and so they understand what it is, we understand what it is, and then we put them out there. I don't have any objections if you all want to include them in stakeholders meetings. The only thing that I would say is really what I'm trying to do is ensure that the commission is taking the lead and the commission is the one writing the rules. I, in no way, shape, or form is the process that I'm trying to do, trying to prevent the operators from the ability to voice their concerns or anything like that. It is strictly to make sure that, when these rules get promulgated and go, when I do our statement of principal reasons and send this to the governor's office, that it's coming from a place that this is what the commission is looking at. We've included the industry, and that also gives not only the industry the opportunity to chime in, but it also gives the general public and the horsemen equal opportunity. So we're not focusing on, maybe just the operators having more say than the horsemen, because they all have different interests. And realistically, it's the commission that has.
We have the final, we have the final thing.
It's the commission's interest, and the commission's not going to promulgate rules that maybe the industry likes.
Yeah.
And they're also not going to promulgate rules that sometimes the public doesn't like. But the commission is is charged with promulgating rules that protect the industry as a whole and protects the state's interests. That's really where we're at with that.
Yes, and along those lines, like Nick said, we've heard it from legislatures, I've heard it from legislators, and also from the governor's office. And that's who initially, in the end, we answer to. And so we're going to start the process. That doesn't mean that it's going to end with where we start. You all are going to be involved in the process throughout the whole deal. So, this is just a start. We're all going to come together.
And if I may, President Cavell, that's why I suggested written comment to start. I do think it's beneficial for you guys to get, at least from the operator's perspective, written feedback, what we can agree upon to start the process, understanding we aren't the only stakeholders. So that's why we proposed that idea.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody that's involved has a right to have their opinion heard and be a part of the process. So, we're changing it a little bit because we've been instructed to. I mean, there's people we have to answer to, and they want it done a little bit differently. I think in the end, we end up all having a shot at this, and that's the way it needs to be. The horsemen, the operators, and in the end, then the commission will do what we feel is best. And you came up, so you want to have the floor, so we'll let you have it.
Mr. President.
How about Frank's first?
Could I for a moment? Thank you. In regard to what Nick was saying about getting some pressure to institute the rules and start with the commission. In the last few years, the commission's dealt with starting up a couple of new industries and having to start from scratch on rules. And this is a different thing here with horse racing. The rules that you're looking at, the Wyoming rules, are based on the 1894 Jockey Club rules. Some of the rules in our rule book are from 1894 Jockey Club rules. This is not a new industry. This is a proven industry. This industry's been around a long time. And the people long before us knew that they had to have strict, good regulation in order for this industry to survive and to thrive. And so some of these rules are based on that. And every rule that you change, and it's been my experience, you have to think it all the way through because it's there for a reason. And I think taking the time, as Tracy has said, to go through these rules one by one, have written comment. I mean, there's some that are obvious. I mean, there's a rule that says you don't want to destroy commission property. Well, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. Yeah. I don't think you should, but there'll be no problems with. And Dr. Erickson's LASIK's rules that he's recommending, sure, that makes sense. But I think it would behoove everyone to take a step back and really look at every one of these rules and make sure that we're not doing something that we might regret later on.
We're not voting on these today. This is just the starting point. You guys act like you're a little bit in a panic over this. This is just an initial startup phase, okay? Where you're going to all be included. It starts right now.
Mr. President, Dan Lee, Wabra. Once again, I just want to echo what they're saying. It's not just the operators, it's not just the commission. I think the horsemen need more time to decipher this, so we're not slinging new rules or making changes based off of a handful of opinions. You keep saying, Mr. President, respectfully, that, this is a start. Well, Mr. Laramendi was a start when he put this out. Well, we've had it for less than 2 weeks. And I mean, like my phone ringing off the hook daily with horsemen wanting to comment on changing this, changing that, wanting to know what is the definition by what's even in there. So we haven't even had time to decipher all of this, much less even, I think, intelligently talk on it at this time. So I just want to echo that time would be great. Thank you.
And the next meeting again is in May when we'll work on it again. And we've got all that time between now and then, but we've got to start somewhere. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with what the commission and their working group has come up with. Doesn't mean that we're going to end up there. Okay, let's go to Eugene, you're first.
Thank you, Mr. President, Commissioners. I just want to echo what was previously stated by Tracy and Frank and Dan Lee and Shannon Rushton. Welcome to the party, pal. Anyway, consider, I guess is what I'm saying. And again, are a lot of stakeholders, and a lot of these rules will material change how we operate a race meet here in Wyoming. And so I for the record, I think all of the stakeholders, along with the commission, have the best interests of horse racing in mind. And again, all we ask is for a fair hearing of our opinions on these proposed rules. And with that, Mr. President, I stand for any questions you might have.
Who else has their hand raised? I can't see the name.
Good morning, President. My name is Mindy Coleman. I am Vice President and Counsel of the Jockeys Guild. And I thank you guys for allowing me to briefly speak. And I appreciate, for the Guild, first and foremost, the safety of the horse and the rider is always the most important and paramount thing. So I greatly appreciate this commission and your staff taking the initiative to make these changes. I will say, and a lot of these things that we deal with for us is as the participants, we're dealing with literally a matter of life or death in some of these safety situations that we're looking at. So we do appreciate it. We just would respectfully reiterate what the other individuals have said so far. And I apologize. I have a really bad migraine, so I'm trying not to stutter so bad. We would just ask that we could be involved in these, if we could be added, and if there's a working group to be included. I'll be honest with you, Wyoming, I used to go to Evanston as a child, and we're talking in the 80s. That was a track that I spent a lot of time at, LeBois, that area. So I'm very familiar with the area, very familiar with the industry. Eugene, Frank Lamb, I mean, these are people that I've known for a long time. And I'd reiterate as well that even though there's some of these that may be against the interests of the jockeys, our ultimate goal is what's best for the industry. So if you're willing to, and if that's a possibility, if there is going to be a working committee, or if there's something in addition to the written public comments, that we be afforded the opportunity to have a representative, or that I be able to participate. If not, if I could potentially do it virtually, if I had to, I would try to make myself available to fly in. Because this is something we do, for example, and some of the rules, the ARCI specifically, like with the helmets, there's typographical, and I can tell that they've taken these directly from the ARCI. But there's typographical errors in some of these, and it's just going back. And then there's some other ones that I think are extreme safety things that we should probably consider, especially if we're doing a review and overhaul of the rules, specifically with the scale of weights. I mean, the 112 pounds and some other things, and then with the riding crop as well. So we greatly appreciate that opportunity. Oh, go ahead. I apologize.
No, you're fine. Are you done?
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. Sorry about your headache. That's not fun.
We're dealing with tornadoes.
Again,
here.
I want to reiterate, all we've done is start the process. We're nowhere near, anywhere near the end. And absolutely, we'll be more than happy to have working groups. We want everyone involved. It's just going to start with the commission. It will end with the commission. But between then and now, everybody's going to have a chance to weigh in. We need all your opinions. We need your input to make the right decisions. So we're just introducing where we're starting from today, what came to us, and how we're going to start. That doesn't mean it's right, wrong, or done. Hope you all understand that. We're not rushing to any conclusions today.
President Cavello, the one thing that I would add about working groups and everything else, I would strongly recommend, even though this is the starting point, I would strongly recommend that, submit written comments. And I think it's best that we do all of that in public meetings in front of everybody. And that's part of the concerns that I've heard is that, when you have working groups or whatever that's done, not in the public realm, then who's really being represented in that? Is it just the industry, or is it just the horsemen? If we get those written comments and we have these conversations in meetings, it may make our meetings last a little bit longer, but I've proven myself that I can get through the first 11 topics before lunch.
Mr. President,
Yes,
uh,
Commissioner.
thank you. In regards to the working groups, is this going to fall on them to put these together, or do we have to do that?
President Cavello, so really, I think the cleanest way to do it is, they can, and my apologies, these did come out pretty late last week. It's been a crazy couple of months, quite honestly. I've thought every day, what in the world am I doing? This is nuts. But anyway, so these did come out pretty late, but what my thought is, the industry and the horsemen, they can all prepare their written comments and they can send all those written comments in. And then the commission working group can then meet again and look at all those written comments. And then we can, tweak and bring all that stuff up. And then we can have another commission meeting to where we can all talk about, this is what the recommendations from the industry are. And then, the commission can really say, well, this makes sense to us, or this doesn't make sense to us. And this is why it doesn't make sense to us. That's kind of my thought behind it.
Thank you, Nick. And I agree. And I know the stakeholders will probably be getting their heads together, reaching out to everybody and getting this started on their own. And we'll go from there. And I think that's a good idea.
Commissioner Broussard.
Mr. President, Nick, what's the objective today for this in your mind? I know that the number of commissioners met and with you, and it's a starting point. Do we want to just review them quickly and table them? Is that something you see, or do you want something more out of today?
President Cavello, no, I think this would be the first kind of, this is what we're looking at. If there's anything specifically, I know that there's a chapter on the other side of it that we're talking two things that could very well be worked and, adopted at this time. And then we can move to the next step for that one. Some of these other ones that have a lot, no, I think it's just, initial discussion about it and questions or anything else. And then we can, take comment for the next couple of months. And then, like I said, have the working group kind of work those some more and then present them in the main meeting as well. Or if we get comments earlier and you all want to call a special Zoom meeting just for rules, like that's an option too, because then the full meetings aren't super long. And some of these, I will say that some of these, it would be highly beneficial to get them rolling sooner than later, to where we're not going into 2027 waiting for rules to be promulgated. Specifically, like, some of the safety stuff with what the vet and the stewards have pointed out. So,
Mr. President, Nick, is your internal objection or your objective is to have some of these rules or most of these rules done by race time?
President Cavello, some of them, I think it would be helpful. Yes. I mean, if that's not attainable, then that's not attainable. But, I guess we'll just have to kind of see what goes and what doesn't go.
Thanks.
Well, okay, so let's go ahead. Vice President Ritholler, or excuse me, Ruben. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. That was my question. At what point do we get started? There is a 75-day public comment period. So do we keep kicking the can down the road and that 75 days just keep going and then we are in the 27 racing? That's why I asked the question. It still has to go through the process. I didn't know if we had to vote on these to get the 75-day process started, or can we start it without any kind of action on the?
No, we have to vote on them before 75 days, but I hate to put something out for 75 days that's going to be amended and worked and then it starts over again. So there's no sense trying to vote on anything today until we have a chance to work it and are confident in the fact that we've reached a place where it's ready for the public to see it in a manner that we feel we can go forward with some kind of consensus through all the partners.
Okay, well, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Mr. Cameron.
Mr. President. Mr. President, members of the commission, I'm here for the agenda item that deals with skill-based amusement games as part of Section 11 today. For the commission, my name is Guy Cameron, and I represent Pace-O-Matic and the Cowboy Skill operators in the state of Wyoming. My job is in compliance with Pace-O-Matic and for looking at compliance across the state in all 23 counties for Cowboy Skill to make certain that we are in compliance with state statutes, state gaming statutes for skill-based amusement games, that we're in compliance also with the rules and regulations of the State Gaming Commission, and also keep mindful of local government's resolutions. And so I'm here today to request on behalf of those parties, Pace-O-Matic and the Cowboy Skill operators, for consideration by the Wyoming Gaming Commission to begin the rulemaking process with regards to a decision that was made by the agency on behalf of the commission relative to the placement of skill-based amusement games into grocery stores. And from that decision then became a question that now has began the process in the legislative chambers to further clarify where skill-based music games should properly be located. And so to be part of the solution to that, I'm here today to ask you to consider an amendment to Section 6 that would provide some language that would address grocery stores. And Mr. President, I don't know on behalf of take your direction on behalf of the interested parties today. Yesterday, this letter of recommendation for proposed amendments went to Director Laramendi. And for those that are on the call today, fellow commissioners, I don't know if you want me to read that letter, but what's your preference, Mr. President, to be helpful to you all?
President Cavello, if I may, so we've actually skipped ahead. There's 3 other on the parimutuel side that we got to go through first before we get the skill-based one.
Okay,
When we get to you, and we do have the letter.
okay.
So if we can back up to the chapter 2 stuff, then we can go through 2, 6, and 8, and then we'll move to the skill-based amusement one.
Yes, and so we're just going to go through these, talk a little bit about what's happening. We're not going to act on them today. We might talk a little bit about why the committee recommend that and you know, where it came from, stewards or whatever, and give you guys how the wheels turned on this end of things. And then we'll ask you to all weigh in so we can come together. And I don't know if you want to schedule a working group with some of these guys before our next meeting so we can continue to move forward. But for now, let's just go through them. You can see what we talked about. We're not going to act on anything today, but we need to get the process started.
President Cavello, so with that being said, the one that we may consider actually acting upon and making, you know, moving that forward is going to be the one that Mr. Cameron's here for.
Right.
And I can give some history on that. Mr. Cameron can give some history on that and the reasons why we're looking at enacting.
We may solve a lot of stuff right then and there.
So we can do that one. The other ones, the parimutuel ones, like I said, this is the starting step. They can start preparing written comments on these chapters and give it to us. And then we can, you know, I can work with you all and see how we want to do that and get them out.
So you guys all understand, nothing's starting to be set in stone today. This is just a very initial starting place. Okay.
You can't leave. You have to stay around.
Wait for.
Yeah, we'll get to it in order when we get done with these others, and maybe we can act on that. Yeah, it's all good. Okay, let's keep moving.
President Cavello, so the next one would be the chapter 2 rules. So we're looking at item 11A2. These are general, that's going to be page 12 on supplemental 2. So again, in these ones, there's a little bit of relettering just for the addition of stuff. You'll see on 2.1, page 2.1 and 2.2, there's a pretty lengthy addition about vests and helmets, requirements of vests and helmets and what those are. This recommendation is coming directly from the safety inspections that were conducted last year, the year before last. So that's putting those requirements in that they have to meet certain standards. I mean, as it stands right now, our rules say that, if you're on horseback, you just have to have a helmet, but it doesn't really say what that is. So I've actually seen some pretty interesting helmets on the backside. Fairly certain aren't probably for this industry. Probably wouldn't help much, but so that's what the purpose of that is. Then on page 2.3, there's an addition of no person shall tamper, alter, manipulate, damage, or destroy any property owned or utilized by the commission. This is looking forward to. Is that a problem? President Cavello, Commissioner Broussard. Yeah, as a matter of fact, it is. And unfortunately, this is also looking to the future of some things that I'd like to get implemented at the racetrack around the test barn area, i.e., surveillance and things like that, to where the commission can, Doc Erickson's grounds are under video surveillance that's strictly controlled by the commission so we can see those feeds. But with that, there is a high probability of people that might want to go destroy those kind of things. And we don't have anything to cover that if they do. I mean, we could always go the criminal route, criminal destruction of property, but if we can also keep it in our rules administratively, it might be a little cleaner and easier to deal with. Going down a little bit more on page 2.3.0, there's some changes to the language about conducting searches. What we're finding, the way that our language is now, it talks about the reasonable suspicion standard. We've been sending folks across the country to help out on, they call them strike teams with the Organization of Racing Investigators, going to these ginormous racetracks. They just did the Pennsylvania Derby this last year. But we've done a lot of research across other jurisdictions, and that reasonable suspicion language that's not the industry standard anymore. If you're at a racetrack, you're going to get searched. It's kind of like an airport. So that's the reason for that change as well. And we did add, may test and seize. That's because the way that it reads now, it says with reasonable suspicion, the commission through its employees or agents, may search, inspect for items, but it doesn't say anything about seizing. So if we go to a barn search and we see an unknown substance in a vial that they're not allowed to have, well, this didn't allow us technically to seize it at that time. It's like, oh, yep, there it is. Cool. Well, and then leave. So that's the reason for that language change. On page 2.4, there's some additions that talk about that also applies to any non-licensed person found in a restricted area. We want to make sure that if they're back on the backside of that, in that secure area of the track, this applies to them as well. So that way they just can't have a buddy that's not licensed holding their nefarious substances, and then they wouldn't be subject to that. Moving on a little bit more, at the bottom of page 2.4, there's a new one that talks about no person shall interfere, impede, or obstruct any commission, employee, official, or security personnel of the permittee during the performance of their duties. Again, this has been drawn, this actually was language that I put in here after this exact problem happened. And it actually happened to me last year when I was working with our safety officer at the track in Evanston. We had a license holder that was trying to prevent the safety officer and myself from doing our job. And I explained to her that wasn't going to work very well. But again, there was no rule pointing to that. She didn't violate any rule at that time. But it definitely should be something that is considered, that if a license holder is actively interfering with us during the course of our duties while we're trying to enforce these rules and everything else, that they should be held accountable for that. On page 2.5, you'll see a big red section. This is one that I've identified. This is actually in two different chapters. So the recommendation that I had on this, all this highlighted stuff should actually probably come out of chapter 2 because it's in chapter 7 under license holders. So I'm working with Kaylor on where this really needs to be, and we'll probably take it out of this altogether. Further on, there's some additions about continuing duties to disclose. One of the things that we are trying to do also on the parimutuel side, where we can have parity with the other things that we're regulating now. It is important to remember that the commission's duties and responsibilities have gone far beyond live horse racing and HHR. We are all things gaming now, legal and illegal. So where we can have parity, we want to have parity so it's an even playing field across the board for our license holders. This language is coming from the skill-based amusement games and the online sports wagering. Both of those industries have a continuing duty to disclose in writing material changes. We don't have that on the parimutuel side, and it's equally as important on the parimutuel side. I would almost argue that it's probably more important on the parimutuel side than it is on the online sports wagering side, but that's where that language is coming into play. Commissioner or President Cavello, that is all for the chapter 2 changes as well.
Okay. Let's move on to 6.
Moving on to chapter 6, which is item 11A3. You'll see some additions on this. This is under permittees for live events, section 1 on page 6.1. These are coming from the safety inspection as well for the poles and markers where they should be positioned. I think that's the industry standard. It's 10 feet. Moving on further down to actually, it's on page 6.4, which would be page 21 of your handout. This also is coming from the safety inspections about the permittee will provide equipment to ensure the track is maintained properly. It shall consist, and then this actually breaks down what equipment they need to have at a minimum to conduct a safe race meet. So harrow, conditioner, screen, water truck. Maintenance shall be completed prior to the start of each race season, and daily equipment logs shall be completed by the track superintendent or his designee. They need to maintain those logs and have them available upon request. Again, this is coming from the safety inspection. This was a recommendation by our third-party safety inspectors of a rule that should be promulgated. Going down to the bottom of page 6.5. Not quite sure why I put this in here twice, but I don't know if President Cavello or Commissioner Schiffer can remember why, but this is, again, the continuing duty to disclose. I think maybe we put it in there twice because we weren't sure which section it needed to go in. If the highlighted stuff goes away, it would fall under this section. So it's the same language that was up about the continuing duty to disclose. We'll still have to work through that and figure out where the right place for that to go is. Page 6.7, there's some additional language in a permittee shall provide a properly equipped transport ambulances staffed with at least one certified paramedic when possible. This also came from the safety inspections. I know we had actually talked about this several months ago, because I think originally there was discussion of it actually just said one certified paramedic and that was it. But there's certain communities and ambulance operators that don't have certified paramedics. So there was that when possible was added. If you're not familiar, a paramedic has higher levels of care than a standard EMT 1 or 2. That's why they said a paramedic. So that's where that language came from. Page 6.8, section, or I guess it'd be letter M. Again, this is a recommendation from the safety inspections about insurance coverage and how that's posted in the jocks room so the jockeys know how to get that. I will tell you that in the instances that we've had where a jockey's gotten hurt, a representative from the track has made sure that they have all the information that they need for workman's comp and everything else. So, but this was a recommendation from the safety inspections. Moving down to page 6.10, all of these additions for the rail and the starting gate about inspections and having logs coming from the safety inspections as well. The starting gate towing vehicle also, keeping logs for that one, that came from the safety inspections as well. Moving on to the next page, 611, the equine ambulance, doing inspections and logs on that one. It came from the safety inspections as well. And moving to page 613, there's just a change in the lightning protocols to make it dangerous weather conditions. And this is just putting that the permittee shall develop hazardous weather and lightning protocols to be approved by the commission. This actually is already kind of occurring in the safety inspections that we did. We talked about their plans have to be approved. As a matter of fact, the action that you took earlier with the Bally's acquisition, if you look at their 600-page submission, you'll see Bally's has their own dangerous weather plans that were included in that submission that they're going to be operating under. This just makes it very clear that they have to have that plan. Moving on to 614 and 615, there's a new section about security. This is all coming from the safety inspections about the operators developing, better security plans that their security personnel must abide by. That's where all that language came from. I'm sure that will morph when the operators provide their written feedback. That's definitely something that will need to be addressed. President Cavello, that's all for chapter 6 as well.
Very good. Let's keep rolling. Go to chapter 8.
Chapter 8, item 11A4. Chapter 8, conduct of races. You'll see through this one, there's a few changes. These are, some of these are just to change a little bit of language. For example, on page 8.1, it says no injured, well, it said no horse, but we added injured horse shall be destroyed. We're trying to get rid of that language destroyed. That just doesn't seem the right language anymore. So we put that no injured horse shall be humanely euthanized on a racing strip. So we're getting rid of that word destroyed throughout and using humanely euthanized. Moving down to 8.2. These are some recommendations coming from the state vet as well. When I say state vet, I mean the commission vet. My apologies. So for G, it talks about anabolic steroids. The administration of an anabolic steroid under this subsection shall be reported to the commission vet. There's some deletion of some language about foreign substances. The reason this one is being removed is actually says a foreign substance of accepted therapeutic value may be administered as prescribed by a veterinarian when the test levels and guides for its use have been established by the Veterinary Chemist Advisory Committee of the ARCI of the Association of Racing Commissioners International and approved by the commission. This commission has taken a zero, what's the word? Zero tolerance for any drugs. So the commission has never accepted any therapeutic level of the ARCI. So it just makes the most sense to completely remove that because that has caused some confusions as recently as last year. Certain horsemen read that and say, oh, well, if I look at ARCI, there's therapeutic levels for this, this, and this. But that has never been adopted by you all. So it's cleaner to just take that out completely because it's zero tolerance. So moving on to page 8.3. This talks about a new Lasix list. This is something, in fact, I sent an email out to you. We'll have to do some crafting on this one as well. This is kind of coming from Doc Erickson about a good way to start tracking horses that are on Lasix or that are bleeders. So that's what this is coming from. It looks like Doc Erickson was up really, really early this morning because he sent this email to me at 12:30 this morning. But there's some changes that we can make to this one as well based on his comments for the next round. Moving on to page 8.4. Again, we're getting rid of that destroyed language and doing euthanized. Page 8.5. There's some striking of language about the purse money being distributed prior to the issuance of a lab report. That's not something that we practice or that we do. Purse money is held until all of the test results are come back, and in some cases, even if there's a finding of foreign substances, purse money is held until that is adjudicated. So that's language is not necessary. The next one about the horse, any horse found to have a prohibited foreign substance present in test sample shall be placed on the steward's list and the vet's list. That's additional language coming from the stewards. Same thing with the entry language. A horse must be eligible at the time of entry and remain eligible at the time of start. Going on to page 8.6, talks about in double I, we just clarified that closing stuff is for stakes races, it's just for stakes races. That's what that applies to. On page 8.7, this is some additional, there's some striking of language of, again, the things that doesn't apply really anymore. And then there's also talking about race. When a race is split, it becomes a second race with the same conditions. Commissioner Schiffer could probably speak way more intelligently about that than I could. But a lot of this is coming from the original recommendation came from the stewards on these. And then the working group kind of worked on this language. So again, that'll be something that can be addressed as we continue to move forward. Page 8.8. The addition of maidens language, excuse me, that was coming from the stewards as well. Page 8.9, you'll see there's some additional language. We brought this up actually last year as a potential emergency rule. That did not go through because we had a hard time being able to justify an emergency when we didn't have any current cases in Wyoming. But this language allows for the negative Coggins and pyro test. Currently, right now, it says 12 months. You know, we had discussions about shortening that to, I think, might have been 3 months, 3 or 6 months. But the language that we've proposed in this is that it may be shortened by a commission directive in consultation with the state vet. This way we can rely on the state vet, and now I'm talking about the actual state vet, not the commission vet, the actual state vet who's kind of has her finger on this far better than we would. She can make recommendations to us that we need to shorten that if she sees something that's causing concerns, and then by a commission directive, we can shorten that 12-month to 3-month or whatever the case may be. Moving on, again, there's some additional language on page 8.11 to add the LASIX list on there. There's some removal. Oh, on page 8.11, this one, TT talks about a maiden over 5 years of age and any horse over 12 years of age will not be allowed to start. We had language in there that said unless special permission is granted by the commission. The stewards recommended completely removing that and just having it a 12 cut. Like if the horse is over 12 years old, they're not going to race in Wyoming. Moving down quite a few, on page 8.14, there's a change to embryos. Currently, the way it's written is embryos, the reports have to be, or the applications for the embryo mares has to be submitted on or before December 1st. The change to that to August 15th is to make it coincide with the broodmare, excuse me, the broodmare application to where they mirror each other. Right now, a broodmare has to be licensed and the application has to receive by August 15th. But if it's an embryo carrying mare, then it has to be December 1st, which makes no sense. So we're just trying to make that to where it mirrors the same dates. If you look at page 8.15, there's some additions to the leaving part for Wyoming bred horses, mares and stallions. It says if a mare is co-signed to a sale, it must be returned within 10 days. of the sale to remain eligible. This is, from what we found in other breed programs, this is kind of the standard 10-day. What we found in some cases is that a mare goes out for sale and it stays out for sale for like 8 or 9 months. And then it comes back and it's being used to kind of skirt that. So that's just to tighten up that language for the Wyoming bred program. Same thing on page 816 for the stallion. Also on 816, there's some additional language about the use of frozen semen. The Rules Committee had discussed this. And the reason why we put this in here, so it says the progeny from the use of frozen semen shall be excluded from receiving stallion owners awards. What we have found in potentially the use of frozen semen is we have no idea where that was collected or where that came from. A stallion has to stand in Wyoming for it to be eligible. So if we can't prove that the semen was actually collected in Wyoming, if it was collected in Kentucky or some other state and then shipped over here, this definitely just makes it very clean that we're just not going to allow stallion awards for frozen semen. They can still use it, they can use it, but they're not going to get stallion awards. At the bottom of page 816, D, starting at D, this was the petition that came from the horsemen that talks about, actually, I think the petition from the horsemen said 4 and 4. They wanted to see that there was 4 Wyoming bred quarter horse and 4 Wyoming bred thoroughbred races each race day. As the Rules Committee looked through that, they kind of came with the language of 4 and 2, 4 accredited Wyoming bred quarter horse and 2 accredited Wyoming bred thoroughbred races. They felt that was the most reasonable number at this time, that 4 and 4 was maybe too much. And then that language below that, it talks about a recognized accredited Wyoming bred quarter horse race or thoroughbred race shall not include paid stakes races or claiming races. I think there's been some discussion, at least internally, that the claiming races probably shouldn't be in there at all. It should just be stakes. That if it's paid stakes, that shouldn't count. But claiming races should still be a valid race. And then the next one, it talks about the requirement shall not, it says the aforementioned requirement shall not pertain to race dates that the majority of the carded races or trials. It would almost be impossible if they're running quarter horse trials for the Wyoming futurities, however they have them named. They're running 10 trials that day. There's no way that they're going to be able to also include 2 thoroughbreds. So if the majority of that race day is trials, then it counts. Moving on to page 817. I think this will be another one for discussion as well. It says owners of accredited Wyoming bred racing stock horses winning non-Wyoming bred races running at a Wyoming permitted racetrack may be awarded an owner premium. The owner premium may be equal to $2,500 or another amount determined by the commission during their annual fall meeting. All owner premiums shall be paid in conjunction with the Wyoming Breeders' Award Fund. So the thought behind this is really to encourage the owners of Wyoming bred horses to enter into open company and run an open company. And if they enter an open company and they win an open company, then they get a bonus for running a Wyoming bred horse in open company and winning that race. There's already things, actually, I think it's just above that. I'd have to find it again. But there's already, the rules that already contemplated something to that, to do a winner's bonus for Wyoming bred horses. It just never went any further than contemplating that it's doable. So this is just putting that in play. Excuse me, just putting that in play to where there's actually a Wyoming bred owner premium. So that's what that's for. And I believe there's some cleanup language on page 822 from the paddock to post. That was coming from the stewards as well. Same thing with on page 823 in G, the removal of the coupled entry language. We don't have coupled entries in Wyoming. The stewards also recommended the 15-minute be in the paddock at least 15 minutes versus the 20 minutes. They don't want those horses standing in the paddock 5 extra minutes if they don't have to. Going to page 825, there's some discussion about riding crops. This is language, or this language coming at the request of the stewards as well. It says at the beginning of each race meet, the steward shall establish the permitted riding crops allowed, as well as the maximum number of successive strikes before the rider must give the horse a minimum number of successive strides. I believe, and you know, we can have the stewards on the line too at our next meeting if there's any questions for them. But I believe that this is coming from other jurisdictions. This is kind of the standard language now. No riding, or the riding crop shall only be used for safety, correction, and encouragement, and be appropriate, proportionate, and professional, taking into account the rules of racing. However, stimulus provided by the use of the riding crop shall be monitored so that it will not compromise the welfare of the horse. Again, this is just some language about when a riding crop can be used and how it should be used. On page 826, you'll see that we're getting rid of some more of that, the use of the word destruction, replacing that with euthanasia or euthanized. On page 827, we had some language in here about, let's see, it said each jockey shall weigh in at the same weight at which they weighed out, and if short by more than 2 pounds, his mount shall be disqualified. No jockey shall weigh in more than 2 pounds over the weight in which he weighed out, except, let's see, well, it's redlined out, so it's hard to read. Except at a weight which he weighed out, except as the weight, and it makes sense anyway. Boy, so anyway, the point of that one was our safety officer, who's a longtime former jockey. You know, we had a very long discussion about this one, and he said that, you know, the weighing in portion, if they're weighing in more than what they weighed out, well, that's not an issue. It's if they come in weighing much less, that's the problem. So getting rid of that weighing in at more, because it really isn't pertinent anyway. Moving on to, actually, nope. Page 831. This talks about, again, this is getting rid of that reasonable cause or reasonable suspicion language, getting it up to kind of the industry standards that if you're at a racetrack, you're subject to testing, especially if you're participating, i.e. the jockeys, pony riders, even owners and trainers that are in the paddock. That's what all that language is for on all of 831. Page 832, we just changed the word unimpairment to non-impairment. Page 834, believe this was coming from the stewards as well about acclaiming horses. Just getting rid of that last sentence. It says whether it is alive, dead, sound, or unsound. That's already contemplated in another section of the rules. And then page 836 and 37, there's a new section about the Horsemen's Association. And if I could, if Commissioner Schiffer would like to speak to this, he will do a much better job than I could.
Commissioner Schiffer, the floor is yours.
Unless he doesn't want to, I can try to muddle through it.
I think this is, Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity to confuse the matter more. You know, I think we're struggling with giving the Horsemen's Group the appropriate amount of power to effectively work with the operators to establish the different things that are pertinent to them. And this is the idea we came up with. I'm not going to, I don't think I can go into the specific language, but, trying to give them a meaningful way to participate in the bargaining process. So thank you.
President Cavello, excuse me, I would also add to that part of this language is to ensure that the Horsemen's Group is a recognized actual horsemen's group, that we're really relying on the majority of the horsemen and they're being represented at the racetrack, not maybe just a select one or two, to ensure that is, and that's why some of this language is in here that talks about a list of elected positions and members and minutes from the last two meetings. I think in some of these instances, we've had horsemen's groups on paper that have probably met once in a lifetime, quite honestly. So that's the reason for that. Again, we'll take the written comments on that. I know for certain there will be written comments on this one. And then we can start working through those ones as well. President Cavello, that is all for the Chapter 8 and the parimutuel rules.
Thank you. Frank, is Ms. Laycock coming right back? Okay. I want to wait for her to get back before we go on. Bear with us for just a moment. Yeah. Lousy ones.
President Cavella,
Yes.
this is Brandy. I had a comment. When would you like me to speak?
Speak for now.
Well, when I get done with my comments. So, Ms. Laycock, now that you're back, it's all good. It's all good. So this is the first time the majority of the commission have heard these rules nor had a chance to discuss them. So that's why we started this way. So now it's in front of all of them. It's in front of all of you as horseman group and stuff like that. So now we'll proceed forward and collaborate, massage, work, do what we need to make sure that we get these in a workable order. Nick, I'll let you, if you want to, let the groups get together. Obviously, we can't meet with you as a commission and discuss them all, but how our working group can. And then bring that back to, the commission as a whole. So like I say, because we can't meet and discuss this unless we have an open meeting, majority of the commission has not seen any of this yet. So as I said, we're just in a very initial starting phase with a lot of this. We'll ask for all of your help that we need, input and massaging to get things where they need to be. Nick, if you want to meet with them, and then if we need to schedule Zoom meetings with our working group and stuff like that, we'll be happy to between now and May to see where we get. Sound reasonable? Yes, Wabra?
I have a question for Mr. Sorry.
And just for the record.
Mr. President, I have a question.
Announce who you are so that people out there know. Announce who you are again.
Oh, Dan Lee, Wabra. I have a question, just definition, clarification for Mr. Laramendi. On the frozen stallion semen situation, it states that basically an offspring bred by frozen semen would be excluded from the breeder award point. My question for clarification for the horseman is, would that offspring just be decline the stallion percentage of the point, or would it be the whole point as far as the breeder and the owner?
President Broussard, Mr. Lee, so the way that we have it written in here is just the stallion awards.
Just the stallion portion of the point.
The breeders and owners would still apply.
Thank you, sir.
And once again, none of this is set in stone. This is our starting point. We look forward to working with all of you as we move forward, and hopefully maybe by May we'll be closer with some of this stuff. Nick, you'll let us know. We can do Zoom meetings and stuff like that and collaborate with everyone moving forward with the working group. All right. If anybody else doesn't have anything else, let's move forward maybe to one.
Brandy one.
Oh, Brandy, yes. I'm sorry, Brandy. Your floor.
Thank you, President Cavella. I wanted to discuss with the commissioners the importance of making these rules and the topics of these rules at the forefront for us to really go on, because these do affect how we regulate these live meats, especially the rule changes from the safety inspection, the vet, and the stewards. The lack of rules that we have now is hindering the commission's and staff's ability to regulate and perform its duties as industry standards. So it is important that we, take into consideration that the stewards and the vet and the inspections worked all last summer on trying to get these up to our standards so our stewards and the vet could perform their duties with industry standards, which we do not have right now. So I just wanted to let you guys know the importance, and I think that we need to act swiftly on some of these. I know that there is some contention on some of the other rules, but the safety inspections, what brought out of there, the safety, the stewards and the vet, they're very important, and maybe the industry can agree to some of those. But it is hindering on how we perform our duties right now at the live meets. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from anyone else?
President Fellow, no, I would just ask that you get written comments to me as quick as I can, and we can start working those, and we can start working with the working group and, go from there.
Let's move on. Skill-based amusement games, Chapter 4.
President Cavello, so the next one is item 11B1. Did I just say that right? Nope. Yes, item 11B1. This is the skill-based amusement games. This is some revisions to Chapter 4 game approval, qualifiers, limitations, and commission consideration. So I'll give you a little background on this, and then we can talk about it. So late last year, actually it was late last session, we had an operator who's eligible to be licensed, obtain a license, and skill-based amusement games were then part of the requirements for skill-based amusement game is a truck stop, a smoke shop, or hold a liquor license. We have locations that hold liquor license. It's package only liquor usually. And in this instance, we're talking about grocery stores. The way liquor licenses are issued in the state of Wyoming, it is issued for an entire building. It says, the location at 123 Anywhere Street is permitted to sell alcoholic beverages, entailing the whole building. So that whole building is qualified for liquor or for skill-based amusement games. So the skill-based amusement games, they meet the statutory requirements. They didn't have any disqualifiers. They were granted licenses based on that. And they place those games in the front part of the store, not inside the packaged liquor area. And that's kind of what started this whole thing. So because of that, as Mr. Cameron said earlier, there's currently a bill working its way through the legislative process that restricts that. And at the same time, I know we had all talked about it, I think a couple of months ago at our last meeting, that we would also work in parallel with that attempt to promulgate some rules to clean that up to where, if this is not a statutorily age restricted location, so a bar basically, that these games are going to be placed in a place that the commission determines is appropriate. And that kind of does go in line with the intent of the statute. If you read through the statutes, it says that, an operator shall not locate a skill-based amusement game in an area to where a person under the age of 21 may enter or remain. Quoting that off my head, so it might be a little bit wrong, but I think that does, if we look at this or think of that as we're looking at this, that is, we're trying to mirror the intent of what that really meant, which was, tightening that up to where these games are not just out in the candy aisle at a grocery store. So with that being said, if you start, it starts on page 77. And in the original language that the working group or the rules committee put in is very easy. It says designated area, or if the designated area is not statutorily age restricted, the following requirement shall apply. And we added a new line that says the designated area shall be in a place determined by the executive director of the commission or his designee. Keep in mind that I think that the reason that it ended up with this language, we had discussed having it to where it says determined by the commission. But then we start running into certain time restraints. The commission meets quarterly now. We have 60 days to approve any license, whether it be for a decal or for an application. And it was believed that if we do it this way, this definitely streamlines the process. And it definitely ensures that the operators and the vendors are not relying or waiting 3 months, potentially 3 months for your all approval if we've determined that it's in a good location. I handed out a letter to you all and I'll let Mr. Cameron speak to it. They sent a letter yesterday about some potential other language that could be used. So I'll let him go on that and then we can discuss this one further.
Mr. Cameron, the floor is yours.
Mr. President, members of the commission, thank you. Director Laramendi, thank you for that background. Again, my name is Guy Cameron, and I'm representing Pacematic and the Cowboy Skill operators that provide Cowboy Skill games across 23 counties in Wyoming. Mr. Chairman, a little bit of background, at least of where we are currently with the legislative process and my reason for being here today. Currently, Senate File 46 is on third reading in the House. It's still, in the Senate. It still has to make it through that process here in the next roughly week to 10 days, what's left in the session. It's unknown the fate of what Senate File 46 will be. And certainly it's an opportunity to make amends in placement of skill games in grocery stores that are co-located with a liquor store. So the question you may have is, okay, we have this legislation that's moving forward, and is there a need for a rule? And I would just share with you that I think they complement each other. There is an opportunity here to bridge what is the high-level discussions that are happening legislatively and their goals. I can appreciate that. We have Senator Kolb that is a liaison to the commission. This incident occurred in his district. And so I understand that he wants to make correction. So then you have the commission. And of course, there was a decision made on behalf of the commission that then drew this as a questionable decision. And so I think there's an opportunity for the commission to move forward, complementary with legislative efforts, and provide a rule to address this issue that will help to make this right in grocery stores. So to the letter, Mr. President, we believe that and we've testified, Pacematic leadership, our governmental relations attaché, if you will, that lobbies the legislature. We were before the Select Committee on Gaming, the Management Council, and the Senate Revenue Committee. We believe that the commission has the authority under Wyoming statutes 1125-303 to regulate and place the the proper placement of skill-based amusement games within licensed establishments that you have approved. And so this rule that we have crafted and that Pace-O-Matic approves of this rule, the Wyoming operators, the ones on the ground that live this every day, providing games to those locations and making sure that they're in the right locations and working with those owners, that they will be in the right area. So the rule then goes to Chapter 4, Section 6. And as you see, it provides in the designated area. And as Director Laramendi pointed out, and it was correct in his lead-in, this says to an operator that you shall not locate a skill-based amusement game in the area of the establishment in which a person under age of 21 may enter. The operators will also place the appropriate signage that's age restricted. And if the designated area is not statutorily age restricted, the following requirements would apply. In a grocery store that sells liquor, the skill-based amusement game shall be placed within the boundaries of the liquor sales area, subject to the review and approval by the Wyoming Gaming Commission. So we hope that this is helpful. We ask for consideration of a rule change that would directly address the valid concerns of the legislature, the populace, and the proper placement of games in a grocery store. And I would lastly, Mr. President, members of the commission, just let you know that we would be welcome to be a partner in where the public is involved, stakeholders are involved, and work with you all to have the best rule in place so we have the proper placement of skill-based amusement games. Please stand for any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Cameron?
I just have a
Yes.
quick one.
Commissioner.
Since I don't know, are there counties, like in Park County, Walmart has a separate liquor store? Are there counties that allow liquor in the main body of the store?
Yep. President Cavello. So one of my concerns with the provided language in the letter is, this specifically talks about a grocery store. That covers a grocery store. Even though a grocery store may have been what kind of started this, there's other locations that I see the same issue with. So we do have I don't think grocery stores, most of them have like a separate liquor area, but I do know of several gas stations that have a liquor license, a packaged liquor license as well. And you got a beer cabinet right next to the pop cabinet. So I think, the way that the Rules Committee kind of worked on this and looked at it, and I know it's only a simple sentence. It says that if it's not age restricted, this is what it is, because that covers any place that's not a bar. So grocery stores started this, but we do have gas stations that have liquor license that this is also applicable to. We have some locations that were grandfathered into this in 2020 that don't even meet the requirements of the definitions currently at all. They don't have a liquor license. They are not a truck stop and they're not a smoke shop. In one instance, it's a laundromat. We have games that were grandfathered in a laundromat. So the way that we had originally recommended that language, it would apply across the board. It doesn't just single out grocery stores, because there is other places that this could also apply to, that we need to ensure that we're doing our best to keep kids out of them. So I hope that answers your question. I think I went a little off topic there, but
I guess, Mr. President, my point, I guess, was if it makes sense in Park County. So if we were going to if Walmart wanted to put skills games in Walmart, they'd have to put it in the liquor store separate. But if there is a Walmart that has liquor in the main aisle, then they could just put skills games next to the wine aisle as it's written here. Yeah. And so that really doesn't really address the bigger concern, I guess.
President Cavello, I would agree that the way that it's written on the submission to you, it has to go in the boundaries of the liquor sales area. So in this instance, like I said, this says grocery store, but if we apply that across to a gas station, well, that could be right next to the pop cooler and right next to the candy aisle. So that was the reason, we did, I'll tell you, like I try to keep it as simple as possible and as easy to understand as possible. That way, the recommended language that we had, it's very simple. So if it's a gas station with a liquor license, they don't have a designated area to sell or to put skill games. So they're only going to put those games where, we've sent agents into the field to determine, okay, what is the best way that we can do this to ensure that the intent of the legislation to restrict that to only people above the age of 21 are allowed to be there. So that's kind of what our thought behind that was.
And that being said, I appreciate all the work you guys did. The reason I like our language a little bit better is going back to approval of the Wyoming Gaming Commission goes clear back to, we're going to either have to have a special meeting or wait till the next meeting. We might run into restrictions. Whereas if we put it back to the executive director or his designee, we can move forward. They know what we're after. We trust them. And we can still hopefully accomplish the same thing and fix this problem. Yes,
Mr. President. I guess what's bothering me is with great power comes great responsibility. And if it's all on your shoulders, making those decisions, I fear that you're going to catch up by yourself. And I think you should have some protection that way. If you think maybe something is missing in my mind where you should be able to come to the commission if it's going to be sticky. That's my thoughts on that. It could be wrong.
President Cavello, I think I agree with you. And that's historically, that's kind of what we've done. If something comes to our office, I'm not going to point to the exact thing, but I'll remind you of a couple of years ago, we had an application for some games that it just didn't, I wasn't comfortable with it. So that was put on an agenda and came before you all. And I explained why I wasn't comfortable with it and let you all make that decision. And I could maybe on a 10-minute break or something, I could talk to Kaylor about how we could word this to where, if there's a question, it would come before you all. Or I guess at the same time, what we could do is we could look at something that if the operator wants to dispute, if they don't like what we've determined at a staff level of where it needs to go, then they can come and bring that to you all, and then you all can determine if we're on base or if we're off base, something like that too.
Mr. President, just a thought. When I think of what the roles and responsibilities are of the commission versus the agency director, I tend to have a different view. And I want to give you a little bit of perspective for my comments that I'll share. I had a chance here in my past life to work for the state of Wyoming. I was an agency director for the Office of Homeland Security for 8 years. I was also in the legislature for 12 years. And so I understand the tough decisions that are made at those levels. I recall serving on a commission, which is the Wyoming Court Security Commission. And the statutes were real clear for my direction and my involvement. And it was to assist the commission in making the decisions for all of those courts across the state of Wyoming to make sure they were safe for not only the judicial branch, but also the public that comes to those courts for their particular case. So I felt that was my role as a director, was to work on behalf of solutions. But ultimately, I think that accountability, that belongs with you as the commission that represent the state of Wyoming. and at the agency's responsibility, I felt for me as a Homeland Security Director, I was an agency that helped to support the research and development, working in concert with that commission to put that work forward. But that ultimate responsibility and accountability, I think, rests with you as the commission and not the agency. Those would be my comments.
Thank you. Yes, Matt, floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Matt Hortenstein. I'm General Counsel for J&J Gaming. Our licensed vendor subsidiary is JJVG of Wyoming. We're a new entrant to the skill game market there in Wyoming. We have a very small route of about 7 locations, largely involving our national accounts like Kroger, Love's, etc. We wanted to testify today in full support of the proposed amendment to the rules. This is reflective of what we consider to be industry best practice. We operate over 30,000 electronic gaming machines in various forms, whether that be a Class 3 slot game or a skill game throughout the United States and 11 different states. We're very familiar with these industry best practices. Problem gaming and underage gaming are real problems. This rule will be a major mitigation effort in that direction to solve this problem. No problem is completely solvable. There will always be exceptions, but this goes a long way in the right direction. So we fully support the rule as proposed. We suggest you move forward quickly with the implementation of this rule. Again, we feel that this is industry best practice. We want to be a resource to the commission to implement industry best practices that we see in other states. For example, Montana, Nevada, Nebraska, Illinois, by way of example, have very similar rules to this particular proposed rule. They work. The experience over the past decade is that rules of this character are effective. So again, we strongly support this rule, and I would be happy to tender myself for any questions.
My question for you is which rule, the one presented by the commission or by Cowboy Skill?
But the rule presented by the commission, sir, I think this should not apply unilaterally to one category of location. This should be industry-wide, platform-wide, statewide. We are all suffering from that same issue. We need to have industry best practices and the right tools that apply equally to every vendor so that we are all on the same page and that we're all enforcing the rules ourselves properly. And this rule would affect that. This should be truck stops, convenience stores, grocery stores, et cetera. All locations should be on the same page.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
President Covello, just the last thing that I would say is, it's entirely up to you all how you want to do it. If you want that decision to fall on you, trust me, I don't care. It doesn't hurt my feelings, but I will tell you that you all have the authority to delegate that down if you want to. Like I said, originally we had talked about putting that before the commission, but for the sake of time, I pride myself on the fact that our operators have come to enjoy nowhere close to a 60-day limit on approvals. Our staff works very hard to turn this stuff around as quickly as possible. We've always prided ourselves on that. This would slow that down. So, but if that's what you all want to do, then
Yeah, it's
no
not
skin
meant to
off
be
my back.
personal. It's not meant to be personal.
Oh, no,
I just think switching roles, if I were in your position, it's a lot of responsibility. And I think maybe there's some guidelines that we could agree to and then it would help you. But it just seems like a short sentence with a lot of question marks in it.
I would ask Commissioner Bold to weigh in.
Well,
No,
Your Honor.
I'm asking Commissioner Bold.
Yeah, Troy has a good point. I like the idea of creating some sort of appeal to the commission in the event that the director and the operator can't, come to an agreement on a designated area. And that would seem to fulfill both concerns. One is that the commission is the ultimate decider if necessary, but first of all, we can be business friendly and act quickly, which is often a complaint about government. So, so that's my horse. I was going to say horse something else, but that's my horse manure opinion at this point. I would like to, move this rule along, notice it up, get the public comment, see what the hell the legislature does, start the process, and as we go through the process, we can maybe even more fully address Commissioner Broussard's concerns. Because I think we've got a good first draft that everybody seems to be okay with. So that's where I'm at on it.
Thank you. Matt, your hand is raised again.
Yes, sir. Just one brief point. I appreciate the comment from the commissioner, but what gives me solace as a vendor operator is the remainder of the rule as it currently exists. There's some really good parameters that gives guidance to both industry and the director in subsections 2, 3, and 4 of the existing rule. And so we're very comfortable moving forward as presented by the commission. We deal with this very same issue in many, many other states, and this works. So for what it's worth, to the extent that experience may help provide some guidance there, that's our perspective.
Yeah, but we got one more part of this to go with that one.
And thank you.
I'm satisfied.
Okay. Anyone else?
President Covello, I just want to point out, it says designee, and it sounds like a soon-to-be retiring commissioner would like to be a designee.
No comment.
Okay, let's get to the second part of this.
President Broussard, so the second part of this,
That's a good ring to it, but it's not correct. It's President Covello.
oh gosh, dang it.
It's okay. Never mind.
President Covello, you should sit further down, would you? President Covello, so the second part of this is on page 4.7. And I didn't see any comments from Cowboy Skill on this one. I don't know did you not have comments on that section of it? Or was that not contemplated, or did you guys not see that?
I think we'd like, which,
So there's another addition to this on page 4.7 that says, that starts talking about audit or attendant keys. Did you see that? Or did your folks see that?
I'm not sure we have seen that.
Okay, so President Covello, I think maybe what we should do is move these with just the first part of it, and we can address this part later. This doesn't have to do with the real issue that we're trying to do as far as the location goes.
So at this point, I'd like to move to accept the changes. What is my motion? To start the rulemaking process? Or to approve?
For the section to the designated area and excluding the key issue?
I'm making a motion to accept the whole section as presented.
Minus the new C vendor skill game equipped with the key issue.
Yeah, President Covello, so the motion would be to approve, let's see.
BI.
The commission to.
Yeah. So to approve the commission to start the rulemaking process.
For chapter 4.
For chapter 4, and then I don't think we need
As
to delete
presented.
that. Yeah, because as presented, I removed that other part, so we can just scratch that for now.
Okay, so you're gonna remove this. Okay, very good. The C there. Okay. Right before section 10. Okay. For section 8. All right. Very good. Okay. So we have a motion on the table to move forward with the rulemaking process for section 8 as presented. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Commissioners first. Public? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That has passed, and we'll move forward with that rulemaking. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
Members of the commission, I just want to thank you and the staff, Director Laramendi, to allow us to be here today and be able to provide comment and look forward to the proposed rulemaking and assistance to the commission to make this the best that we can, and looking at these issues of concern and being a partner and a stakeholder along the way to assist and make the best rulemaking we can. Thank you for your work today.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Nick?
President Cavello, so we will move that one with that one change, but I did want to put something else on your radar, maybe for just some discussion. If you look at the next line in that, it talks about the cordoned off with a half wall or similar structure. It's on page 845, 77 in the packet.
Page 77, 4-5.
And it's going to be double I. It's right after the new change to it.
Yep.
So it says the designated area shall be cordoned off at a minimum with a half wall or similar structure that has received commission approval and prevents access of any person under the age of 21. Establishments shall have 60 days from the effective date of these rules to comply. So the one thing that I wanted to put on your radar, and this is a topic that's going on legislatively. I know that there was an amendment to the bill that kind of made that to where the half wall wasn't going to be sufficient. I think there was another amendment that actually ended up pulling that out. So there is conversation on the legislative side about if a half wall is pertinent. So I wanted to put that on your all radar, maybe for a discussion. You know, ultimately, if you all feel that a half wall is reasonable, or if it's something that needs to be addressed and we need to consider changing that half wall to something a little bit better. So the concerns that I've heard on the legislative side of it in all of these areas, that's not a bar. This isn't specific to a grocery store or anything. This is across the board. If it is not in a bar that allows persons under the age of 21, if it is a half wall or a similar structure, in a lot of locations, you will see that it is not a wall. It is a railing that is completely see-through. In these games, you all have seen these games, all of them. The HHR games are no different. These are ginormous video game looking things. And the concern on the legislative side, or at least with some members, is the enticement that has to underage kids, because they're little fish swimming around or squirrels popping around, whatever the case may be. So there is concern that the half walls or the railing maybe isn't sufficient for what the intent of the law was. As far as when you go back to 1125-303, where it talks about operating, or an operator shall not locate a skill-based amusement game in an area of an establishment into which a person under the age of 21 may enter. So, legislatively, there's discussion on both sides that the half wall is okay. There's others that say the half wall is not okay. We're really trying to narrow that down to that these games are only being played by persons under the age, or gosh dang it, over the age of 21. That there's not something out there, a carrot in front of a child or even an 18-year-old that entices them. So I wanted to bring that up to you. I had expressed to some legislators that I would absolutely bring that topic up to you all, for you all to maybe discuss your thoughts on the half wall and the railings, and if it's sufficient, or if you think that does need to be addressed. Obviously it's not going to be addressed in this one. We're going to run this as really trying to get the designated area part cleaned up first, and we can continue on this other stuff. So if you so choose.
Well, from my perspective, it'll be interesting to see what the legislature does. Obviously, this is a budget session, so maybe as much wouldn't get done as we would normally like to see, but I don't care for the fact that they're just half walls. On my way up here this morning, I stopped for fuel, and at 5 o'clock this morning, there are people playing those, and I guarantee you that kids walk in and they see that and they're enticed by that, and we're just, we're throwing that drug out there for those kids to get addicted to. And I just wonder if maybe we need a little bit more separation, but that's my thoughts. And I guess I really don't want to dive into it until the legislature's done and we see where things are. Anyone else? Mr. Broussard.
No, I totally agree. And I mean, really, we have to look at what are we actually trying to do? Are we, we're looking at the details of the words, but we're really trying to not entice children or expose children to it prematurely. And if you're at the entryway of a grocery store, but you satisfied all the letters of the rules, but you have this blinking machine at the door with a half wall, have we really satisfied what the residents of the state want, not the folks who supply them or house them, but what is the writ large, what does the overall residents of Wyoming want in this package? So that's my thoughts.
Anyone else? Yes, Ruben, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, President Cavella. When you really think about it, there's a reason they put lights and fish swimming around and bells and whistles. It is to attract people. And kids happen to be attracted also. But if you go into a lot of establishments and you see them in kind of a closed, like a closet, it is pretty tough to see who is playing on them machines. If you're in a bar, you shouldn't be in there unless they should be carded coming in anyway. But when you come into the convenience stores, there's not somebody standing at those machines with 4 machines. So what happens if you enclose it completely, it's easier for somebody to slip in and play on the machine than if you can see in there and there is a kid playing. So kind of watch if you want to hide the bells and whistles, they probably need to be kept out of any place that doesn't card at the door. But when you enclose it in a closet, a lot of things happen in closed closets. So you kind of be careful with that one, because now somebody can slip in there when you have 2 people at the convenience store counter that is not completely watching that. So actually the half wall lets them see who is in there playing. And that's just my opinion. So I'm with everybody else. It's the bells and whistles, but there's a reason there's bells and whistles on those machines. And you can ask anybody that builds them. They're not just a computer, because nobody would sit down and play with them. So just that there's always a bad side to a good side. So thank you.
Matt, I see your hand is raised again.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I would also support what you just described, some form of greater than a half wall. In fact, we would even support segregated, distinct areas. The last thing our industry needs is this problem. And there are technological resources that are proven industry best practices throughout the United States that address the problems that you are addressing right now. We can have restricted point of entry with a card swipe that you cannot enter into the room unless you swipe your ID, a full wall, or at least 3/4 of a wall that you cannot see through, an opaque barrier. All of this equipment exists in a cubicalized format. We do this in many other states. We would completely support an open dialogue on this point. There is a solution to address the problems that you're raising. I think also to the earlier gentleman's point, 24/7 surveillance where you have a exterior monitor to the attendant can avoid the problems of the enclosed closet there. I agree with that but there is a technological solution to all the problems that you've raised. We do this in many other states as an industry best practice. I think the key here is having an appropriate rule that addresses these things and makes it applicable across the platform so that we're all on the same page and we're all competing on the same rules.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. President, if I may, to Commissioner or Vice President Redholler's point, we've actually had some locations that, the way that the games are set up, it was difficult for them to monitor the way that they did. And they have that, I think it's Matt's point too, they've put processes in place to where they can see that In fact, they have, you walk past a dinger, so the attendant knows that there's people even in that area. And then they can immediately start looking at a monitor to see, who's in there and everything else. So there is ways, I do agree. And I think early on when these rules were promulgated, to Vice President Rithaller's point, I think that's exactly why we talked about a half rule. Because it will take some tweaking across a couple of different areas, because there's something that says in our rules as well that say that the games have to be visible or within line of sight from an employee. So if you all determine that maybe the half wall is not the way to go anymore, and we start really trying to make this and protecting the public from underage play, we're going to have to tweak a couple of different areas. So.
Okay. very
Mr.
good.
President,
Good discussion.
Mr. President,
Yes, Guy.
just a thought. I'm really interested in this dialogue for just a moment, and I think about how we got here, and we're trying to deal with it. And I think there's some messaging that's important. So I go back to just the grocery store for the moment. That was the issue that drew the red flag that we need to address it. So I still think it may be important for your consideration from the commission where this came from, that you signal to the citizens of this state that we are going to address this grocery store in an amendment to the rules. And to the point that Director Laramendi appropriately made about these other places, that can be incorporated as well. But you would certainly be signaling to a grocery store in this state where it's out of place or in the wrong place, that you send in that strong message that we're going to deal with it. The legislature's looking at it, but where it originated here, we're going to deal with this. So food for thought.
Thank you. Anyone else while we're on the subject? Okay. Nick, you have anything else for rules today?
President Covello, I do not.
Well, I want to talk about something.
Oh, here we go.
We got a meeting coming up in May, and I hope we're going to talk about online wagering, sports wagering, and I hope you guys get in your mind about prop bets, because I think they're a serious problem, and I hope we've got the guts to act on it.
President Covello, that will be a topic in our next meeting. I sent you all a letter from the NCAA. I've been watching and monitoring. In fact, I read something yesterday that several, I want to say 5 or 6 states have already started legislating the banning of prop bets on college sports across the board. So we're trying to gather some numbers to have those ready for the next meeting as well. But yes, that will be a topic on the agenda for.
Yeah, we don't have to have the legislature to act on that. We can do it, and I think we need to. So have that on your mind. Do some research, get a feel for what you feel about that, and we'll see what we've got an appetite to do at the next meeting. All right. Do we have any need for executive session, Mr. Kaler? Meeting dates. Our next meeting will be May 15th, 2026. Do we have any general discussion or public comment anyone would like to bring up at this time? Tracy, you got anything for us? Who? Pete Legursky? Peter. Peter, floor is yours. Peter, floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for letting me make a comment or two. I did want to acknowledge that I saw that Commissioners Broussard, Wildcat, and Francisco are exiting stage right after this meeting. So I did want to acknowledge their work and thank them as part of the process. We've been in Wyoming and have always found them to be open-minded and be able to discuss things even if we don't agree. So just wanted to pass on our best wishes for the future to all of them. They will be missed. And one other thing, just quickly, I wanted to acknowledge for Wyoming horse racing. We've been been on a bit of a sprint the last couple of weeks, which is why no one's at the meeting in person. We're all exhausted. We've been opening two properties. One is our Gillette Skyline that opened up the end of January, but the big property we opened in Evanston, our Evanston Horse Palace Gateway property, opened to the public on the 14th. So, and early indications are that the Utah citizens are going to love it. We're getting a ton of traffic from Utah customers, and it looks like it's going to be doing exactly what it was intended to do, which was to bring in tourism dollars to Wyoming. So we're super excited about getting that open and getting moving. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much as well. I guess at this time, do we want to save are we going to adjourn to our deal, or we want to do the?
President Cavello, yeah, we will. So once we adjourn, we'll just have we'll just go out there. How's that?
Shots? We'll just go out there and have a little ceremony well, I guess in this meeting, I would like to thank our commissioners that are leaving. I'd like to thank them for their service. You know, we have 4 meetings a year, but we have thousands of pages of material that goes out, and obviously each and every one of us receive calls from the public and put a lot of effort into it. I'd like to personally thank Commissioner Broussard for leading me and helping me get along. And Chief, we're going to miss you as well. Thanks for your service.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I will say, as someone who kind of came into this not knowing anything about gaming and so forth, I feel like I'm leaving and still knowing very little. In other words, it's a very complicated issue that the commission has to deal with every day. And my hat's off to you guys, as well as Nick and the staff. They do an incredible job. And it's been fun for me, and I wish you all the best in the future going forward.
Go ahead, it's your time to say adios.
Well, thank you. I just want to mention one thing, and that's, you know, I've been a few places, and the integrity that's in this body, in this commission, is second to none. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And Peter, you're an example of the folks who are coming to the state and doing business with us, and we need a lot of folks like you, and I think that's coming, Bally's. And I'm excited to watch from a back seat now.
Thank you.
And my new job as the skills game designee.
With that being said, we will adjourn to out there. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day and safe travels. Stick around.